2019년의 마지막 그리고 2020년의 시작을 뜨겁게 만든 열전 2019 리그 오브 레전드 캐스파컵 울산. 이제 그 최정상을 가리기 위한 마지막 승부가 이곳 KBS 울산홀에서 펼쳐집니다. 다전제의 약세를 극복하고 첫 결승 진출에 성공한 샌드박스 게이밍과 베테랑들의 클래스를 보여준 아프리카 프릭스. 과연 이번 캐스파컵의 주인공은 누가 될지 2019 리그 오브 레전드 캐스파컵 울산 결승전 그 전장의 문을 지금 열겠습니다.
순간이동으로 도망가는데
아프리가
뛰고 있어요. 블랙. 네, 다전제 중요한 경기 이거 뿌리표처럼 따라다녔었거든요.
그거를 해결합니다.
네.
그거를 지원을 잡고 SSUN을 파괴합니다.
제재.
결승전 가네요.
그냥 괴물이. 기인이 그냥 괴물이에요. 사랑스러워입니다. 트리플 괴물입니다. 한 번 더. 다음 누구야? 우리는 지금 기인의 시대에
시작기 포탑 26분 들어갔습니다만 시간 들어봅니다.
와, 진짜 캐스파컵을 통해서 아프리카 프리스는 매 라운드 올라갈 때마다 성장하고 있습니다.
경기 마무리됩니다.
네.
아프리카 프리스 완벽한 경기력으로 대전을 꺾고 결승에 올라갑니다.
샌드박스 게이밍과 아프리카 프릭스 선발에 나선 양팀 선수들을 직접 만나보시죠. 먼저 탑라이너입니다. 기인의 아성에 도전장을 내민 서밋. 모두가 인정하는 국가대표 탑라이너 기인입니다. 이어서 정글 선수들을 만나보겠습니다. 이번 캐스파컵에서 최고의 기세를 보여준 온플렉. 노련함으로 게임을 지배하는 스피릿입니다. 이어서 미드라이너를 만나보시죠. 안정감의 대명사 도브. 사파 미드라이너의 정수 플라이입니다. 바텀 선수들입니다. 새로운 팀에서 터닝 포인트를 맞이한 루트. 한국 무대에 화려하게 복귀한 미스틱입니다. 마지막으로 서포터 선수들을 소개합니다. 팀의 모든 순간을 함께해온 조커, 브라움으로 완벽하게 각성한 젤리. 이렇게 마지막 승부를 앞둔 양 팀의 선수들을 만나봤습니다. 2019 리그 오브 레전드 캐스파컵 울산 샌드박스 게이밍과 아프리카 프릭스의 결승전, 여러분의 뜨거운 함성과 함께 지금 시작합니다.
그 결승 진출 확정됐을 때는 그냥 그동안 노력했던 게 보상을 받는 거나 생각했어요.
일단 제가 이렇게 한국에 복귀하고 나서의 첫 대회인데 그래서 좀 긴장을 좀 했었거든요. 좀 기대도 좀 하고 생각보다 쉽게 올라온 것 같아서 다행이에요.
또 제가 아무래도 캐스파컵 우승자 출신이다 보니까 감회가 새롭고 아직 결승까지 올라올 수 있는 힘이 있구나라는 생각이 좀 들었던 것 같아요.
또 왔네 이런 느낌.
별 생각이 없어요, 지금 자체는. 근데 아마 대회장을 딱 가고 자리에 앉았을 때 그때 아마 이런저런 생각이 들 것 같아요.
다들 컨디션이 많이 안 좋아서 걱정돼요. 네.
아프리카 프릭스는 약간 공격성이 되게 강한 팀?
펀치 한 방 한 방이 묵직하다.
특출난 선수가 없어요. 이게 안 좋게 들릴 수도 있는데 5명이 다 잘한다는 뜻이거든요, 결국에는.
샌드박스는 견고하고 기본기가 충실하고 변수도 잘 만들 줄 아는 팀.
탑 정글 미드 쪽이 강한 팀 같아요. 그래서
그쪽이 말리면 게임을 어떻게 풀어나갈지 좀 궁금하긴 해요.
기인 선수가 잘한다고 생각을 하지만 어떻게 또 보면은 별거 없다고 생각해서 저도 좀 맞춰서 잘할 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다. 정글로 쓰지 말고 탑에서 1대1로 한번 붙어보자.
굳이 정글 잘 쓸 수 있는데 굳이 1대1로 붙어줄 필요는 없고 나는 정글 잘 써서 아래쪽에 좀 내려갈게.
든든하다 김기인.
작년 19 시즌에 픽하지 않았던 챔피언이 있어요. 그거 지금 준비 잘 되어 있거든요.
온플릭 선수가 준비하는 조커픽이라 해봤자 제 조커픽은 안 될 것 같습니다. 조커픽 하면은 어디 가서 빠지진 않거든요.
더 할 수도 있는데 어느 선수나 같은 자신은 있습니다. 저 상대하시는 거 쉽지 않을 겁니다.
저는 온플릭 선수 진짜 고평가하고 너무 잘하는 선수인 거 알고 있고 잘하실 거라 생각 들지만 경기는 저희가 가져가도록 하겠습니다.
플라이 선수는 일단은 픽 예전부터 사파 쪽을 되게 잘 다루는 이제 그런 선수로 알고 있어요. 요새 들어서는 다시 이제 무난한 픽들, 이제 다 모두가 하는 픽들을 이제 주로 사용하시는데 저희도 그 받아치는 거를 정말 잘한다고 생각하거든요. 좀 무서울 게 없다고 생각해요, 저는.
아니면 페이트 선수는 제가 잘 몰라가지고 가서 이제 찾아보긴 해야 되는데 귀찮으니까 도무 선수가 왔으면 좋겠네요.
어떤 분이 와도 자신 있습니다.
다른 원딜들에 비해 원딜이 나이가 많지가 않나.
진화 잘할 것이지. 범현이는 걔도 저랑 그거죠. 평균 나이로 보면 비슷하잖아요. 범현이 때문에.
일단 저희 원딜이 더 잘생겼죠.
일단 범현 형이 젤리 선수와 벤 선수보다 무조건 잘한다고 생각해서 저만 잘하면 쉽게 이길 수 있을 것 같습니다.
처음 해보는 결승인데 떨지 않고 열심히 준비해서 잘 하겠습니다.
오랜만에 진출한 만큼 많이 열심히 준비해서 좋은 경기를 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
아낌없이 실력 다 보여드리고 싶어요.
데뷔전은 잘 치른 것 같고 이번에 마무리까지 잘 지을 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
작년에 아쉽게도 우승을 못했었는데 작년에 우승했던 그 초비 선수를 상대로 이기고 올라왔으니까 이기고 싶네요.
1월 5일이 생일인데 결승전이랑 똑같은 날이라서 뜻깊은 느낌이라 생각은 하고 있습니다.
저희 평소 실력을 보여줄 수 있는 기회가 됐으면 좋겠네요.
캐스파컵 시작할 때는 진짜 아무런 생각 없이 한 경기 한 경기 이겨보자라고 왔는데 그래도 결승까지 왔으니까 온 김에 우승 한번 해보겠습니다.
큰 무대에 올 때마다 정말 프로게이머를 하길 잘했구나라는 생각이 들어요. 이런 큰 무대에서 경기를 할 수 있다는 게. 그래서 앞으로 남은 결승전 저희 열심히 준비해서 후회 없는 경기 할 수 있도록 준비하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to KeSPA Cup 2019. It is finals time, and it's Afreeca Freecs versus SANDBOX, and I have a very chilly LS here. This man is heated by correct predictions, and things have been a little bit rough over the last couple of days.
It's been a rough few days. And also, you know, I'm over here, I'm freezing. No one else is freezing, apparently.
No, I'm actually quite warm.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a problem for me the last couple of months. You know?
Well, I mean, the beginning of this tournament, you were heating up. You know, you saw I believe, on the first semi-final, just a shirt, everything was totally okay.
Everything was fine.
And then we went pretty drastically downhill, and now we're in a parka. So a little bit disastrous here for the final of KeSPA Cup. Let's see whether your 3-0 Afreeca prediction is going to come true, or whether it's going to be knocked down to size by a pentakill from a certain
I feel like if I actually want to predict 3-0 Afreeca, I need to 3-0 SANDBOX prediction. That's the way that it's working out.
So it's actually the opposite day. I mean, we saw the tweet of Fion earlier on saying that it's going to be a 3-1, I believe, for SANDBOX. And it's understandable that that is going to be something worth betting on, given the fact that betting against you seems like the right move. This is, of course, today's matchup, SANDBOX Gaming versus Afreeca Freecs. And you saw the players introduced onto the stage in Ulsan. We're not going to be there, unfortunately. However, very excited to bring you today's match. And let's see whether it's going to be more than the 3 games. I know that's your prediction, but I'm hoping for a little bit more League of Legends than that.
Well, all right. Well, taking a look at the KeSPA Cup Finals history, 2015 champions, ESC Ever, 2016 Rocks Tigers, beating the Kangdu Monsters. KT Rolster 3-2 against Longzhu Gaming in 2017, and Griffin 3-0ing GEN.G in the 2018 finals. So, the way I'm looking at it is we're not due for another 3-0. We're due for either a 3-1 or a 3-2.
Yep.
Okay, that's the way patterns work.
Okay, well, we'll see whether that is actually going to happen. Something interesting about how the KeSPA Cup has worked out over the last few years is that often the names that you see winning the final don't necessarily walk away with an LCK title afterwards, things like that. So we'll see whether this time it's going to be a little bit different between, you know, I think a lot of people's opinions was that neither of these teams were necessarily going to be top of the LCK. But I think it's about time to start getting excited for both of these teams. Thankfully, we're safe. There's no KT Rolster here, so excitement is allowed. And I think the top lane is where we need to start things, and thankfully that is point 1.
Yeah, I mean, point number 1 towards the top. 2 teams are challenging for their first championship. As, like you were just mentioning, no one was probably expecting these 2 to meet in the finals, especially not with teams like T1, GEN.G, Dragon X, etc., having lost along the way getting here. Point number 2, monster made by Kiin versus Kiin. And I think what they're referring to here is that Summit was a substitute.
Yeah, he was sitting
Kiin
behind Kiin for a long time.
For about a year. And so this is the rematch here in the final. This is
And I didn't know, but the pentakill that OnFleek got was the first time a jungler has got a pentakill on a Korean broadcast.
That's pretty sick.
That's nutty.
That is.
And he was playing the best champion in the game,
what?
Obviously.
I'll walk right off right now. You're casting solo again.
I mean, OnFleek is a particularly good Olaf player, which might have something to do with it. But I don't want to go into it too far because I do want you to stick around. As Summer versus Kiin is, of course, going to be the key matchup. But you can see that damage percent. Kiin popped the heck off. And you see that 2 wins on Camille? Is the only champion he's played more than once.
Yeah.
Is Camille. Otherwise, it is one-ofs everywhere. They've lost 1 match, I believe. Kiin was playing Hecarim. In that one, it was a little bit of a roughie. Otherwise, it's been really smooth sailing for this guy, and he just went absolutely insane yesterday.
And we're taking a look at Spirit here compared to OnFleek. OnFleek with pulling out the Xinjiao 1 game, but Spirit obviously having the token Poppy as the unique pick there down at the bottom. I do think that Poppy is really, really good, and I think that she's able to be flexed to multiple roles. So I'm hoping that we get to see more Poppy, if not just today, but also in LCK 2020. Kiana being picked 3 times is definitely a bit surprising. I do think jungle is her weakest role, but Spirit's managed to find 3 wins while piloting it here
I feel
so
like
far.
they use it a little bit differently when it's in Spirit's hands as well. So maybe that has something to do with the success that he's found as opposed to elsewhere.
Now we're just panning out and to look at the players right now, and that is Joker.
Yeah, you
on
saw him
your
introduced.
screen.
It's really interesting that they're bringing Joker in for the first time in the KeSPA Cup, and he's alongside Root as well, who hasn't had as much game time as Leo had in the first place. So you can see that big old dash next to, under Joker's name, and that is not because he has an undefined KDA. That's because he hasn't played yet.
Yeah, and so this is going to be very, very surprising to see this bottom lane coming out. And normally, when I see stuff like this, especially in a final, it would always give off to me that there's some reason for it. And so I'm really hoping that there's not just another traditional support champion that's going to end up being picked, because otherwise, why wouldn't you just field your bread and butter bot lane?
Yeah, and especially up against Jelly, who's only played Braum or Tahm Kench. It's not like you're expecting anything crazy out from the Afreeca Freecs, as of course you saw Jelly get introduced, not going to be Ben in the starting roster at least for Afreeca, and Afreeca are in fact just running their tried and true roster that's come up with the most victories. As you can see, Spirit over Dread, Jelly over Ben, and very comfortable here for this squad. Fly in that mid lane very close to the 10 KDA, a man that picked up one of the MVPs for their most recent victory. And of course, otherwise it was Kiin, who was just insane. And Dragon X, honestly, it felt like they never really stood a chance. I was really surprised. In fact, I had my money on Dragon X, not real money, but I had that was my prediction for yesterday's match. But Afreeca honestly just destroyed them.
Yeah, and Dragon X looked very tilted and off kilter throughout basically the entire series yesterday. The drafts were also a little bit questionable in games 2 and 3, and by a little bit I mean I'd like to go off the rails, but I won't.
Yeah, no, I don't think you... Just watch the series if you're interested, because you'll be able to see... yeah, you had some good explanations based on, solo queue experiences that everyone may have had, referencing how Chovy was feeling in that game, and I think a lot of those were certainly very apt. As here we are, into pick and ban for SANDBOX versus Afreeca, the final of KeSPA Cup 2019 Ulsan. First off, we're going to be banning out the jungle here, as Kiana and the Elise have been taken away by SANDBOX, and the understandable bans of the Akali and the Lucian to be taken off the board, and Ornn hits the bench.
Well, that is something I do like to see. More Ornn bans.
You just don't want to see him on the Rift?
Well, no, it means that maybe they're starting to learn that he is a bit of a savant champion.
Oh, he certainly is.
Yeah, not a saint, not a sinner. He's a savant. You need to understand. That's not one, although. Oh, man.
Oh, dear. Timothy Kenshin's back on the Rift. He is going to be locked away. SANDBOX not going to give Jelly his second most played champion and second only played champion in the KeSPA Cup thus far.
All right, well, Tahm Kench first pick is extremely abusable. I've harped on about it for so long, so we'll see if it ends up happening. But knowing the KeSPA Cup, get ready for Varus Nautilus or Varus Braum. Hold on.
Oh, might be Varus Thresh. Oh, no, this will be Braum, won't it? This is straight up
Hold on.
Of course.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Well, I mean, Jelly's played 2 champions, and one of them was just picked away. So that's how that's going to work. We are going to be going towards the center bottom lane. This one has been quite strong throughout the KeSPA Cup. Certainly difficult to push out of lane with the amount of utility it has alongside the Tahm Kench. Doesn't mean we like it. It means we understand what it's supposed to do, and that is going to be a potential mid lane rumble, but a flex pick coming in for Dove in the mid lane in that rumble. Oh, okay. So that's Aurelia. If Kiin plays this, then that's his 11th unique champion for this tournament.
Yeah, and so the Aurelia is also going to be a flex pick. So we're going to have to see what's going on here. Now, the Senna and the Rumble, I really, really do like Senna. And Senna is also one of the champions that is able to be flexed, although less commonly so to the mid lane. Wouldn't expect it as such. Now moving into the second ban phase, though. Okay, so the LeBlanc being banned away is making me think that they're more concerned with putting Aurelia in mid lane.
Yeah.
So you would want to ban away the LeBlanc for that.
Well, Gragas going to be taken away on the other side, though, really trying to attack Spirit's champion pool here, who hasn't actually locked anything in just yet. But you'll notice there is still Poppy. She's still available. There are no dashes on the opposing side.
Yeah, so
Poppy's maybe not going to get the most value.
And Rek'Sai. So the jungler pool continues to actually get pinched. And when I see a Rek'Sai ban, I imagine that a Jarvan or a Lee Sin is
Olaf.
coming in.
Afreeca are picking Olaf.
Actually,
they're picking Olaf away from OnFleek
they are
right now.
Not going to do that, Atlas.
Okay. Lee Sin still available, so it is going to be locked in. And this also in Korea acts as a denial pick to the Olaf because, of course, our Korean players love picking Lee Sin into Olaf, and Lee Sin was smashing him in the jungle, especially at the beginning of this tournament. So let's see whether this will deter OnFleek or whether he's just going to do it anyway. And it looks like OnFleek wants to just do it anyway. I'm sorry.
It's, you know, I mean, it's fine. We're making it through. Olaf's being hovered. He will be locked in. You know, for SANDBOX. I see the one Afreeca fan in the crowd shaking his head right now. That is indeed what's going on. As SANDBOX now, they're going to have to decide on their final champion pick.
It's going to be a lot of magic damage if this one is locked away. But of course, there is Senna, who's going to be doing a fair bit of AD. Does like building the lethality as well, which does lend itself to playing in a composition that has a large amount of magic damage. Force the opponents to build a lot of MR and then utilize your lethality a little bit better. As that's an Echo being hovered. I don't know whether that's going to be locked in, but if it is, it would certainly be exciting.
Echo isn't that bad of a champion pick here. There's also other champions that aren't that bad, such as like even Mundo, who obviously isn't that bad right now. He's very good against the composition that SANDBOX have. They have
Minikim in the audience.
Yeah.
Very cute.
Limited amounts of CC. You definitely have options to just pick anti-magic type team comps.
And of course,
Afreeca.
Yeah, and Echo was a counterpick to the Syndra, of course, in the mid lane. You're able to utilize the ultimate as soon as she uses hers, and not only do you get your health back, but you don't get hit by any of the orbs because you're untargetable while you're going back in time. So, like it, and certainly going to be very short-ranged on this Afreeca roster. Mystic is there on the Varus to make up for it, but I don't know whether it's necessarily going to be enough, and we're going to have to find out how Afreeca is going to pilot this one as we get onto the Rift for game number 1. Rumble and Syndra certainly very popular picks. SANDBOX have themselves a composition that we've seen very similar versions of throughout this tournament, but Afreeca seem to be mixing it up. We're going to see the 10th unique champion for Kiin there towards the top side of the map. And honestly, it's all about the Aurelia versus the Rumble. We just want to watch Kiin versus Summit.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm excited to watch what's going to end up happening. There's a chance, though, that the lane does just get handshaked, in which case we have to watch for the mid game to unfold. But SANDBOX, they have a very red-bluish kind of team composition, Atlas. I know, you know, I see you looking at me right now, but I feel like they're going to be the ones that are definitely much, much, much more on a clock.
Well, let's see how it goes as we get onto the Rift for game number 1. I think there were fan chants, but we just didn't quite hear it. So here we go. Let's see how this one is going to pan out. No shenanigans in the early stages. I believe that was more of a yesterday maneuver. I think Afreeca were doing, like the 5-man invades almost every single game.
Yeah. Afreeca was indeed a pretty big fan of the death ball early on.
Yeah, not doing it this time around, however, even though they do have the Braum available to them. Of course, giving you a lot of power in that level 1. These concussive blows. But nope, not going to be a thing. as Mystic and Jelly just going to wait, give Spirit a bit of a hand. And we do have a slight change up, a lot more teleports this game on the bottom side of the map than we've been seeing. But I guess this is almost like a handshake that they both agreed to at the same time for these bottom lanes. And both of them do have a lot of utility and defensive options with them. So probably not going to be too worried about what's happening bottom side of the map, which is going to give us much more access to just straight up watching the top lane the entire game.
You know, I mean, the thing about this game is we're going to just have to mostly pay attention to what transpires in the first 12, 13 minutes, because the itemization on the side of Afreeca is going to be a lot better for them the longer that the game goes, for the Echo, the Aurelia, and even the Lee Sin, because he's against two primarily AP carry threats on the side of SANDBOX. Olaf not really going to do anything after just one item. And if Olaf does end up going Black Cleaver this game, he's not really amplifying even his own damage because of his axe swing. So it's mostly would only be for Senna, which wouldn't be that effective.
Yeah, Senna does some... I mean, she does a heck of a lot of damage, but with the lethality style build, she's not going to be necessarily reliant on DPS rather than burst power, which doesn't necessarily work with the playstyle that you have to utilize if you're going to be just stacking up the Black Cleaver. So I understand what you mean. Feels a little bit wonky as far as that playstyle is concerned. However, this SANDBOX roster hits really hard in the mid game. Any sort of composition that likes these champions that have either lethality or Magic Pen, and of course with a Syndra and a Rumble, Magic Pen's certainly going to be on the cards, and Senna with the lethality, this comp is going to be very, very scary. So if Afreeca isn't able to hold on, then SANDBOX certainly will be in with a chance. And Afreeca are a team that utilize that as concussive blow is going to land onto the Tahm Kench for a moment. But of course, Root is there, and he has got the heals with the Piercing Darkness.
And also OnFleek was in close proximity, so right now Kiin's just hard shoving up here in top lane, likely just going to recall now inside of the brush. I don't think there's any reason for him to persist on inside of this lane. Spirit is going to pick up the left-hand side Scuttle Crab. Echo and Syndra just going tit for tat in the mid lane. Both parties have teleport, and Syndra also, she has Phase Rush this game.
Yeah, Dove is going to be able to maneuver around quite a lot. We've seen a lot of the Phase Rush Syndras, I think, so far this tournament. Just for that added maneuverability. Can, of course, cast her Q while she's walking, so it makes a little bit of extra sense based on that, I guess. But a back going to come in, or be looked for at least, here from Jelly as the pings go down towards the mid lane. OnFleek thinking about coming around and checking that one out. Piercing Darkness gets a lot of value here on the bottom side of the map for the onto Afreeca Freecs for SANDBOX. Otherwise, not too much happening. OnFleek not going to steal away some chickens as Spirit is on the bottom side of the map, but OnFleek's going to walk over a ward as Summit pushes this wave all the way towards this one. So actually, most of the aggression happening bottom lane, and everything else just pretty cool, calm, and collected.
Well, there's some trades going on here in mid lane. 15 seconds until the Mountain Dragon spawns. Curious to see if Lee Sin's actually just going to try to start that up immediately after trying to counter jungle the red side jungle of SANDBOX.
We'll see whether we get Cloud next and really unlock some powerful Dragon Souls. You were having a conversation, I believe, with Mr. Valdez yesterday about the Ocean Soul and the Infernal Soul being certainly the ones that people like a little bit more. He is on the cards, potentially. As the recalls come back towards the bottom side of the map, as Mystic, he grabs himself his Vampiric Scepter, and we've got a pickaxe on the other side here that Root has picked up. Interesting that it's a pickaxe, of course. No. Going towards a Manamune. Pretty standard stuff here for the center build.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, nothing really should be expected, although Kiin...
Yeah, going quite aggressive. Doesn't actually take the turret shot that I was half expecting there. And Summit going to lose out on that trade already. Moving towards a 20 CS advantage for the Aurelia into the Rumble top lane. It's one of the sacrifices, I believe, that SANDBOX was making is fly. Aggressive onto Dove. Scatter the Weak comes in. Good stun, but Spirit walks over a ward. and might actually go down to check on OnFleek. Not quite able to safely solo out this dragon if he is spotted, and will need to call in his bottom lane. But yeah, teleport coming in from Kiin. Will they be able to actually find the fight that they're looking for, as the Vanguard's Edge will be available, but Fly dives right into the middle. Vanguard's Edge is there. The flashes come out, and in goes Kiin, diving onto the SANDBOX members, but they all flash away. No, not far enough, as Fly dives in, grabs the kill on the back end, and this is the Afreeca Freecs we saw yesterday, and SANDBOX fans should be terrified.
And right now, I mean, Afreeca, they are busting the game pretty wide open. They get the Mountain Dragon, and you know, I mentioned how their team composition is going to be the one that's able to itemize really well, and that's through the usage of actually resistance items against the double AP threat. So we see here Kiin had priority on the recall, able to get the better end of this teleport, but at this stage of the game, the base scaling of the champions on the side of Afreeca is just stronger than that of SANDBOX this early on, and so very peculiar to see SANDBOX investing as much as they did into a Mountain Dragon, especially when none of their champions can even really utilize it. And then they end up giving over a couple of kills. They're already down 1,500 gold. And as this game proceeds, I wouldn't be super surprised to see Banshees eventually come out on Echo, Maw of Malmortius on Lee Sin, Wit's End on Aurelia.
Yep.
And things are just not looking so good. And Cloud Dragon is the second one of the game, so we're going to get an exciting soul.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about just before. I'm glad that it does come through, especially for Game 1 in a final. I find it really interesting talking about, I guess, power spikes and where these compositions are going to be strong, because we've sort of had both sides of the conversation, and I want the viewers to understand, you guys at home, I want you to understand exactly what we mean by this, because SANDBOX's mid-game composition is really strong on 1 to 2 items, and then Afreeca's will get better as the game gets to the late game. However, right now, with what Afreeca has, before you have your core item, Afreeca will be strong. So it's this really cool sort of tug of war between these two squads, and Afreeca found the timing that they were looking for and capitalized, as once again, potential capitalization towards the bottom side is now Summit trying to get away, but Spirit is here, found a lot of friends, and will be absolutely obliterated by the Olaf. Just too many people on SANDBOX's side, as Fly does move up there, dives into the backline. Summit is going to go down, and Fly has the ultimate available. Vanguard's Edge, though, does come in. He was looking for the extra damage and finds it as Dove runs out of buttons. Dive in towards there in the river, but meanwhile, bottom side of the map, Root going down to about 200, and Mystic empowers that Q and destroys him, as now Joker, he's running away, but he feels a little bit like a Yuumi that's lost his partner. Timothy Kenshin's not able to do anything.
He has not earned back the mantle of Sir Thomas yet, I'll tell you that.
No, yeah.
So definitely Sir Tim down there right now.
Oh, he got the Sir back, though.
Well, slow down. It was a slip of the tongue.
Okay.
We take a look at the Insect comes out onto Rumble. Equalizer parting Aurelia away, but looked like Kiin wasn't on the same page initially as Fly. He could have already been going on to Summit here, but a little bit later, didn't really matter. Echo doing so much, locking up the Olaf Triumph Restore, going back onto Kiin, and then Dove getting chased down by the Echo, ends up having to flash right there.
Yep.
And now his lane state is also really good inside of the replay, and obviously we have the 2v2 down in bottom. Everything is just going Afreeca's way, and this is not the kind of game that you want right now. Varus has Blade of the Ruin King, and wouldn't be surprised to just see him go for the on-hit Varus, utilize the Wit's End, which makes use of the Mountain Dragon, although it's extremely minor.
Yep. He can pretty comfortably just go into Rageblade if he wants to as well and get that huge 2-item spike. Might be helpful against a SANDBOX that does want to accelerate towards that particular stage of the game as quickly as they can. Fly, going to wander on over, gets himself a control ward, but you can see not taking the bait as Joker gets out there, and Shelly will be taken at 10.5 minutes. So success here for SANDBOX, but they're still, they got a ways to go. Close to 4,000 gold is the lead. And at 10 minutes, that is an exorbitantly large number.
Yeah, it's super, super large. And I mean, they're going to get bottom turret plates right now as well. They're getting good vision. And this vision can obviously line up for teleports. once Aurelia and Echo, I mean, Echo already has them available. So interesting right here, Mystic. Prioritizing the CS that's not even being hit over getting the turret plays. He's eventually going to end up getting both, but maybe missed out on a little bit of chip damage. And now he'll end up getting the CS right there with the piercing arrow.
Yep, wanted to keep the lane in a better state for him, I guess, as well, which could be a reason for focusing a lot on that as Jelly comes on in, does manage to get the stun there onto Joker as the Chains of Corruption are down. Spirit looking for a way into the backline, doesn't take the Q as Joker goes camouflaged, but now Spirit finds himself in amongst a whole lot of enemies. Good kick back there, gets a great knock-up as Fly picks up the kill onto the Syndra. Meanwhile, we got a fight on two fronts as the Devour comes through. That's on cooldown for a long time as Kiin has just obliterated the other front. Spirit diving on over, and this is looking like a 4-0 in favor of Afreeca, who will be able to transition into either a turret or a dragon, maybe even the game.
All I gotta say right now, Atlas, is I'm really glad that we're not on Twitch. The stream might have been taken down with what has been happening the last 5 minutes inside of this game. This is really, really one-sided. I'm trying to think of a game that was this busted open in this kind of a manner too, this early on.
This reminds me of, do you remember SKT in 2018? KeSPA Cup. So last year's KeSPA Cup, where they got the first perfect game every single turret play.
That was against BBQ.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you do. You do remember,
I remember
that
that.
one.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why you remember that, but we don't need to go into it. We don't need to go
Coach,
into it.
by the way.
Yeah. Oh, for that team.
For that,
right.
yeah.
This game reminds me of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we almost won game
SANDBOX doing a bit of a BBQ scenario. Yeah, you did. You know, you really stood up on your own 2 feet in a good old game two.
We almost won.
I think you found the Karthus in game 2. I think that's what happened.
Was it Karthus?
I think Malice.
No,
I think Malice. Oh, was it? Oh, yeah.
I think it was Kha'Zix, yeah.
It was an interesting comp. I actually remember enjoying that one quite a lot.
We had Draven too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That helps.
Big brother.
Yep. Yep.
So, all right. Getting back into this game, though, you can see the Merc Treads already out for Spirit and Fly. And it does look like Rageblade will be the item of choice for the Varus next. But honestly, at this point, it does just feel like SANDBOX is just going to kill over and die soon. Last turret plate in mid. It's going to be able to be picked up by Fly.
Fly, who just took 3 turret shots because he felt like it. Up against Dove, just not too worried about it whatsoever. Spirit wandering over some wards, but as the map is flipped, this bottom lane now towards the top side might need to be careful. OnFleek moves towards the mid lane, but he's slowed down by that Time Winder, and the Q lands there from Spirit. OnFleek not going to be able to do anything at this stage, and he's an Olaf at 14 minutes in a gigantic gold deficit. He's basically not a champion.
Yeah,
this is not pentakill Olaf time. And I just don't think it can be in this game.
He is so much worse than Lee Sin right now at this stage of the game relative to his items. I mean, he's not doing anything. He's an Olaf with a Warrior enchantment that's going to press R, run at his opponents, throw maybe 1, 2 axes if he's lucky, and then he's going to turn right back around.
Well, right now he turned around already and wasn't able to do anything. Kiin has discovered 2 people, but he might take this fight as Mystic takes down Joker as well off the back end. Summit has to flash as there's the ultimate flying through. Oh my god, Kiin follows with the Blade Surge, and he's not even going to die to this Equalizer. Is there anything this man cannot do as now Spirit is hunting for a Q and he'll find it easily. Puts Summit in the ground. He needs to be renamed because he's not at the top right now,
he's
LS.
Absolutely not at the Summit, I'll tell you.
Nope.
So
he might be the Summit, but Kiin has he's got there. You know, he's the guy that climbed Everest, and he is now the tallest part.
Well, this game is really looking all but over. I'm very surprised there's not a mercy rule in League of Legends, because this would be the time to enforce it.
And wait for this Blade Surge. I believe the flash actually happened where Dove was, trying to escape that particular Blade Surge button, but Kiin he'd already buffered it.
Well, 11,000 gold lead here at 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So
what you doing later? You got any plans? What's going on for you before LCK
don't
comes
forget,
back?
3 days, Star Wars.
Yeah, don't
forget.
I'm ready.
Don't forget.
Do you want to go like lunchtime?
Or do you want? No, I like nighttime.
You're a nighttime guy?
Yeah, it really sets the mood.
All right.
Okay.
Is it the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away mood?
Exactly. So like maybe like a 6 or 7 p.m. showing.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, is that what late means for you? I was actually really confused because your
you
sleep
thought I meant,
schedule
like,
is an
10 or
absolute
something?
disaster.
Well, that's
so
morning
what
for me.
is nighttime?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
5 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 6.
Normal wake up hours. I know it was a little bit touch and go at the start of this tournament because you're a man that likes to stream, and you stream for our international viewers, a lot of you beautiful people at home, and that means that LS doesn't have real human being times here in Korea because he's catering for a lot of you guys.
I'm on KST hours only when I'm casting.
Yeah, I've noticed.
And even then, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tread the line.
Yeah. Organizing off-season meetings with LS is an absolute disaster, just so you guys know.
Sometimes they'll message me.
So,
How about 1? I'm like, it's the middle of my sleep cycle.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 7 p.m. Is that okay? Oh, it's a bit early in the morning for me. What? Oh, disaster.
Europe's waking up soon. I got to stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
We can check in on some items here as Trinity Force has been completed. We've got a Magi Soul Stealer from a very happy Fly who was very confident in his interview yesterday. One of the things that I really liked about what he was talking about was the fact that he hadn't really had very much luck against Chovy until yesterday's match. And so this has been a tournament that's been fantastic for Fly, whether it be, Fly as a player or just his confidence and what he can do moving into the 2020 season. And Fly really didn't have that when he made his debut back in the LCK, his re-debut, I guess.
Yeah, I mean...
He had a pretty lackluster performance.
He was always like a middle-of-the-pack LCK mid laner, and obviously in the last couple of series, he's been doing quite well. I mean, this game alone, he's doing very well on the Echo. And like you mentioned, pick up the Magi Soul Stealer, which we don't get to see that item very often in pro play. So it's quite nice when you see it, especially when it has the passive enabled. The extra little kick that the item can end up giving you.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, though, Afreeca, they're just waiting. They're just continuing to get further and further ahead. They're not trying to force anything and end this game pre-20 minutes.
And the thing that makes this okay, because oftentimes you'll see a game in this state and you'll be frustrated, right, that a team hasn't actually just straight up won yet. But if Afreeca keeps doing this, they will just eventually win because they are denying the entire jungle from SANDBOX. They are always getting more than SANDBOX is able to get, and this composition does very comfortably 1-3-1. And you can see Shirley will head towards this top lane, and they'll continue just taking money from SANDBOX. SANDBOX right now are a pinata, and Afreeca are just, they're thwacking it when they feel like it.
Yeah.
And taking the candy when it suits them.
Oh, this is going to feel real bad. Shirley, you're going to deal
a
lot of damage to that top tier 3.
I remember the first time that we saw, new Rift Herald, whether it be Shelly or Shirley, hit an inhibitor turret, and I feel like it just does obscene damage to inhibitor turrets in particular.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like how much? I think that she has a thing against them.
She certainly doesn't like the tier 3.
Maybe the turret inhibited her. I don't know.
Maybe she just she's a Twitch viewer, and it's about the kind of subscription. And so she doesn't like the tier 3. She really wants you to get in on that tier 1.
I don't. Yeah, trust me. I know about wanting people to get in on the tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's free after $4.99. Okay.
Does that have something to do with Amazon Prime or something like that?
That's an option as well.
Oh, okay.
And if you ever want to listen, Atlas, you ever want to run a test, twitch.tv/MLS. Okay, and just
all right.
You can go and test out there first.
Oh, is it pronounced IMLS? I thought it was Imless.
I had a Korean. Hold on.
Just 1 second.
KeSPA fight.
Yeah, we've got a bit of an equalizer coming down here as Jelly throws out an ult as well just to try and answer, but Mystic, he's turned up, and look at the money that Afreeca are smashing SANDBOX in the face with. It's a scat of the week that has actually worked out here, but it's not going to be good enough for Joker. And that is just Afreeca taking as much as they possibly can. Kiin, through the base gate, just dives in and takes down the Syndra. Now has found an unsuspecting route underneath the turret. Goes golden. That's the double. And Kiin, I don't know what he has been eating in this offseason, but he is an absolute monster. Oh, good guy. Spirit tanks up the turret just to make sure that Kiin could get out. And OnFleek has survived. Respawned. He didn't survive. He certainly died in that last fight. But Afreeca have decided to back off the Baron.
If Jeff Bezos was a champion this game, Atlas, it would definitely be the Aurelia with how much gold this champion has. The amount of imbalance that is present inside of the team fights. The equalizer comes out. You ask yourself, well, why is Afreeca fighting in here? But the mind control from Afreeca luring SANDBOX into their red side jungle, and it's just such an easy victory. They're so far ahead. It's really no contest.
Yeah, and then Kiin just picks up the stragglers because, you know, he can. Look at this. There is an inhibitor turret and a Senna who's pretty busted right now, and Kiin doesn't mind. And I think a lot of that has to do with this 606 Aurelia, 60 CS in the lead, so much global gold available. And there is that one pesky kill that is separating Afreeca for another, like, very close to a perfect game. And their game ones have been, like, circa 2017, you know? This is, like, the old Afreeca adage, where Afreeca just come out of the gates so incredibly fast. And the thing that's been ridiculous is the fact that they didn't stop yesterday. Yeah. I was always expecting Afreeca to take game one, but I was expecting game two to be much better for Dragon X. That might be the case here for SANDBOX, but that hasn't been how it's been working out as the Vanguard's Edge flies through. This is merely a formality for these Afreeca players as the double kill for the Aurelia is there. OnFleek gets obliterated by Fly in the backline, and I just need more words to talk about how destroyed SANDBOX have been, because I feel like I've used all of my obliteration-style words so far today, because of how much Afreeca has been giving it to SANDBOX. The Nexus turret's finally going to go down. SANDBOX can breathe a sigh of relief that this is now over. That one kill, inting Spirit, unfortunately, at the end there. But my goodness, this was a statement game, if ever I have seen one.
That was really... that was one-sided. That was a bit of a massacre. And if you're SANDBOX, it also probably felt really bad to be in the game for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that can definitely weather a person's mental down if they're not remaining calm, or if some people are actually optimistic and they're like, no, we can win this, guys. You might just start getting really angry at that person.
I don't. I like a positive attitude.
Yeah?
I'm all about it. I'll sit in that game. If that guy thinks that he can win, I'll let him try.
All right.
I might even have an opportunity to go from 0-7 to 0-14.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's all that you need to. That's all that you need to look at. But
what we need to look at is a SANDBOX that's most likely going to change up their roster. I don't think Joker's coming back for Game 2. I think GorillA's going to come back in. I think GorillA actually has performed pretty well so far this tournament. Joker didn't exactly demonstrate to us any secret technology that he's been working on, anything like that. And we know that SANDBOX does like to mix things up. They like to, you know, they had Fate in a couple of days ago. Didn't necessarily perform super well as 808 Aurelia. I feel like you could have given it to either Fly or Kiin, but towards the end there, Kiin certainly was the man that made all of that extra money that he picked up look a lot flashier. Although I think the early game was largely put in its place by Fly and his ability to rotate at exactly the right times and clean up what was a death for Spirit that ended up getting avenged really, really beautifully. So both Fly and Kiin playing exceptionally well.
And yeah, I mean, it looks like the coach came on stage just now. I don't know what maybe he quite said, but it looks like he said something to Joker. Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to have a look at the highlights. I'm going to let you guys observe those while we discuss something pretty important and pretty confusing. Why are they using Real Madrid chairs? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because they are. It does say Real Madrid on them. So.
I have no clue what's going on there. That is
well, I might be able to do a little bit of research. I had a few people ask me yesterday about what that's about. So I guess we'll have to you know, get some behind the scenes information. We'll come back to you about those ones. This was exactly that rotation that we were talking about when it comes to Fly. Right place, right time, even being able to get that chrono break in order to do damage. Most of the time people use that to escape, not Fly in that instance. As, yeah, this is what happens when a team wins every lane and the jungle.
That's exactly
win.
what happened this game. They actually won every single lane, and the jungle, and the dragons, and the heralds. Everything just went their way. And when SANDBOX's team composition had a reliance to get to the first core item and then maintain constant control over the jungle, and then try to do something with that at 1 and 2 core items, they never got to that phase. And then because they were never even allowed to, the game was just so drowned from the early stages. So here we're just seeing more Kiin highlights, and him basically take SANDBOX on a bit of a roller coaster this game.
Yeah, he was a little bit too difficult to deal with as Mystic rotates around the corner, and then SANDBOX immediately start flashing because they could hear the sound, the war cry, the battle cry of this Aurelia, as she wasn't done after the team fight was already over, and somehow manages to auto-attack through a base gate as well. Thankfully had vision available. This was, you know, less to do with Kiin being extremely good at the game and more to do with him having a hell of a lot of money at that particular point, but it was still very impressive watching the Afreeca Freecs just carry out the game exactly how they were supposed to based on the early game that they navigated so beautifully. And when a composition that does have one of these ebbing and flowing, I guess, power spikes and power points in the game, you get that first initial lead and you are just so fine.
Yes. And I mean, they ended up closing it out at 23-13, which maybe some people are looking at their 10,000 gold lead super early on and thinking that it took too long. But honestly, when you're in a tournament match, the win is all that matters.
Yep.
So they took it really slow. They were waiting for Baron, waiting for Sol, but then eventually just ended up being gifted the game-ending team fight.
Exactly. Let's see whether they can do it again in game number 2 after this short break, guys. Stick around.
battlefield. Dominate your competition with the infrared beam. And if that's not enough, experience real rapid-fire action with the Gel Bead Blaster. With the included interactive curriculum, anyone can learn how to code, teach it to move, recognize shapes, and a whole lot more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to KeSPA Cup 2019. It is the finals, and in case you missed it, because it was pretty quick, Afreeca just absolutely slammed SANDBOX. And now I think the huge test is, let alone the substitutions that are happening, which we predicted and called for after that first game. I don't think putting Joker in for his first game and the 0 win percentage route certainly wasn't helping out in this game either. However, I think there are issues all over the map for SANDBOX, and now the biggest test is mentally resetting after the obliteration that was Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, so they're bringing in 2 new players which can maybe defuse the situation. And, I mean, we have no idea what was being discussed, what the comms were like last game. But certainly, bot lane, it wasn't an issue in and of itself. I mean, it was just there was 2 very explosive moments inside of the game that crippled SANDBOX's chances and ability to come back. So we're going to have to see what is going to go on.
The thing that I really like is that we were allowed LS to remove his jacket. No more jacket necessary because, of course, first prediction of the first game so far this series was correct.
Yeah.
We'll have to update you based on
it's going to be a
SANDBOX
3-0
go.
Alice.
Well, I mean, I get worried when you say things like that, especially after the last couple of days.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, Miles.
I
don't want you to jump the gun and get overconfident immediately. That's what I'm saying. And there is still a chance that SANDBOX are able to come back. We know that Afreeca are very good at Game 1s, just in general, so now is, in theory, when the series starts. However, yesterday, Dragon X, a team that a lot of people were very excited about, just completely collapsed at this point. It was just an absolute disaster for those guys. And now, SANDBOX are staring down the barrel of that possibility once again. As we'll see whether the bans change up, as it was certainly an attack onto Spirit last time, and now SANDBOX have to ban the Lucian and the Misfortune.
We'll see if anything else too crazy happens here in the initial ban phases. Lucian and MF being banned away by SANDBOX. Afreeca banning Syndra, Rek'Sai, and Gangplank.
Gangplank ban is an interesting one. Maybe this means that Akali is the attempted pickup here for the top side, but SANDBOX are going to ban that one away. Might have been something that they thought, could have worked well.
Aatrox?
I don't know.
Oh, Kiana.
Yep, that's going to be the lock-in, likely for Spirit, but of course can be flexed multiple different ways. I do like it. Spirit, of course, 3-0 on this champion that has only lost 3 times thus far in the KeSPA Cup. Thank you very much for the stats there, KeSPA. SANDBOX looking to pick away the Varus towards the bottom side of the map. Now, Leo has had a much better time. Been playing the same champions as Mystic, but I think everyone on the bottom side of the map has been basically playing the same champions. In Misfortune, if we can get her, then go down to something like either the Senna or the Varus. Been seeing.
Well,
Tom Kench would be disappointing.
Yeah, nothing's going to change, Alice.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change. I've given up, okay? I've just accepted that this is the way that it is.
Well, sometimes, acceptance is a good thing in these sort of situations. Other times it's better to fight back, but this time I think that, we've done as much fighting back as we can, and we just have to accept that Tom Kench is here to stay. Timothy Kenshin's bottom side of the map all the time. This is Korea. As that's a Xayah being considered for Mystic, and that will be locked away. So will Jelly be on the Rakan? Last time we actually saw Afreeca Freecs play the Lovers duo bottom lane, but it wasn't with Jelly. It was in fact when Ben made his way into the roster for the only time that he played. And it is now going to be Jelly's turn to jump onto the Rakan, who we saw be quite disappointing yesterday.
Yeah, and so the Lovers duo down there in the bot lane. We're going to see what SANDBOX is going to round this draft out phase 1 with. Looks like it's going to be a Lee Song, as he is being hovered.
They can now pinch the jungle after this as well, so make sure that OnFleek has the matchup that he's looking for. But I like that he's not playing Olaf. That's good, especially not picking it in. Of course, it's likely that Spirit's going to be playing the Kiana, so maybe not pinching the jungle could be a good idea. Or you pinch it and therefore try and guarantee that it's going to be a solo lane for the Kiana, or just not a champion that they want to pair alongside it. Something like you know, Elise Gragas would make some sense, given the fact that if you're going to lane the Kiana, you're going to want to have some magic damage coming out from somewhere else to allow Kiin to be as flexible as possible on his champion choice for the top lane.
There's the Elise ban coming in by SANDBOX. Afreeca going to respond with GorillA. So that's a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I wasn't quite expecting the GorillA to be picked back into the Afreeca Freecs, especially after what Kiin did on his last game. But just, if Kiin doesn't play it, Afreeca just won't let anyone, which I don't mind. And of course, picking the GorillA in the start of the second round is okay, given her flexible nature. And those are the bans that I was talking about. So I'm getting something right.
Well, the Gragas, yeah, now banned away. And so there's very few magic damage junglers left. But also, I mean, if the Kiana does end up going into the jungle, then you can still just have mages in top and mid lane. So Ryze, Cassiopeia, these are both champions that are still available and on the table. Now, Karthus is also a champion that exists, but
that's true.
Sir Tim over there is a bit of a cheater against the Requiem.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Aatrox being considered, of course, is another flex pick, can go between mid and top lane, and Summit has played 3 games on it thus far and is pretty happy to pick this one up again. So let's see whether it is going to be Summit or Dove that's going to be playing this champion. I expect Summit to be the man piloting the Aatrox, but of course it's still up in the air.
I mean, what I'm assuming is that they're thinking about Ryze and Kennen, which is the Korean belief of what you want to answer Aatrox with. It's typically how the meta just ends up going. And we're going to get Ornn. And so this could be jungle Ornn, or it could be mid Ornn.
I like that they're still flexing around with it, but it is likely that Fly is going to be playing this Ornn. He's the one that performed on it most recently and did well in, I believe, the last series against Dragon X. Strange that he was taking the Ornn against the man who was the first to play it in the mid lane.
Oh, man. Well.
Oh, dear. Actually, oof. Yeah,
Okay.
I like the Vladimir a little bit more than the Mordekaiser here. I just feel like Kiin would be able to run over the top of the Mord. And let's see exactly where the Vladimir is going, because remember, these solo lanes can be swapped around. Of course, Vlad's going to have pretty comfortable time against the Ornn, and the pool is so valuable against the Call of the Forge God.
Yeah, the pool is really, really nice. And I mean, Ornn versus Vladimir, it's pretty rough for Ornn up in top lane, but in mid lane, it's a little bit more manageable, but obviously Vladimir still has the edge inside of the matchup, so Dub should be just fine on that. But in terms of overall team composition, so you have Kiana, who's going to get one of the lethality upgrades from Ornn. You have the Infinity Edge that's able to be upgraded on Ornn. And obviously Rakan, depending on what he's going to end up getting. Redemption is usually the support item that gets upgraded. Yep. Kennen with the Zanya's Hourglass. So with Ornn in the team, Mountain Dragons, or Mountain Souls for that matter, have to be really respected and scary, basically, if you're going up against it. But the amount of scaling on Afreeca is so much stronger than that of SANDBOX. So yet again, SANDBOX find themselves on a clock.
See whether they can make that clock work for them this time around. SANDBOX were picking fights when they shouldn't have been, just a little bit too early in game number 1, and the game snowballed completely out of control from that one moment. If they can avoid that, there's a chance that we will make this into a series, and SANDBOX can even it out. Afreeca do have a composition that looks pretty comfy on paper. Let's see how they do as we get into game 2. I think there was some chance. I just think that, to be honest, our in-ears are not giving us all of the audio.
Yeah.
So you guys, you can report back to us to whether or not you guys heard the fan chants. But I didn't hear too many fan chants there from Ulsan. Let's see whether the fans get into it as we move further into this series. And honestly, you can imagine that there might be some fans that are a little bit unenthused if they're on SANDBOX's side, because game number 1 certainly did not go as intended. But Afreeca need to buck the trend. This Zyra Khan has not been working so far in the KeSPA Cup. It's been certainly losing a lot more than it's been winning. So let's cross our fingers a little bit, see whether Mystic and Jelly can rearrange the stat lines for these particular bottom lane champions.
The thing that's going to be really scary as well is that SANDBOX, they're not going to have a lot of summoner spell. In the later stages of the game, Fly can have up to 3 realistically inside of a team fight. He can have his flash become available. He can have exhaust. He can have ignite.
Yep.
And that's all just coming from his spellbook. Varus with the teleport on himself. Tom having Guardian instead of spellbook just has the exhaust and whatnot. And so Ocean Dragon is the first one of the game. And so if you're an Afreeca fan, what you'd probably like to see is something along the lines of Ocean, Infernal, Mountain, Mountain, or Ocean, Cloud Dragon, give it over to SANDBOX, and then Mountain, Mountain, Mountain.
Yeah, I actually think that, like, when it comes to stacking dragons, I think Mountain and Infernal are by far the best, because as you get those percentages up higher, then it's not doing that measly, I'm going to give you 3 armor or something like that. And especially in the case of Afreeca, who do have a dedicated tank in this on. Yeah, Mountain is certainly one that they will be wanting to stack. See whether SANDBOX are going to be able to actually command some control here in this earlier game. I think that this is a game that doesn't undulate quite as much when it comes to the power level. I feel like SANDBOX will be able to come online a little bit earlier, despite having the Vladimir here, who does want to be scaling.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll just see what OnFleek can manage to do early on. These are lanes that, again, they're so hard to realistically gank for. I criticized this yesterday about the Lee Sin, that there's so many matchup dynamics that are just very rough. Now he's looking for this.
Yep, Spirit's going to dash on over, though. And the flash in, not going to be able to get his blue buff. So Spirit uses a summoner spell for absolutely no reason. Kiin coming on down. He's got a full energy bar as the Lightning Rush does come forward, but not going to be able to get the stun. Didn't have that one primed on his auto attack just yet, as now Fly in a little bit of trouble. And you were talking about what OnFleek can get done. Well, he's already started off pretty strongly, taking down the flash from Spirit and stealing away the blue buff. That is a 3-buff start now available for the Lee Sin, who will move over to his own blue buff in due time after taking this Rift Scuttler. So good start here for SANDBOX and showing that they're not as rattled as they otherwise could have been in this game number 2.
Yeah, everything is going pretty well so far. Now Lee Sin, though, going to give away, I believe, his location with the Scryer, although we didn't see any pings on the minimap, so maybe the sparkling dust wasn't noticed by some of the players.
Yeah, we certainly saw it, so maybe they just verbally communicated it. As there are pings in this mid lane. Fly maybe just not super happy with how things are going, but he did nail picking up that cannon minion and isn't behind too far. As far as the farm, I could imagine that Vladimir in the early game going to be having a pretty good time against the Ornn, given the range advantage.
Interestingly, Vlad actually just elected for a Ruby Crystal start rather than something like a Call, which is a little bit surprising, especially because the Qiyana can't really gank for the Ornn all that well. So not going to have the most greedy of starts going on here. And meanwhile, up in top lane, Summit doing just fine against Kiin in the Aatrox versus Kennen matchup. But again, we're waiting for mid-game explosiveness. But Afreeca, they're fine to just wait and allow the game to sort of scale on.
Yeah, and they're pretty comfortably doing it, especially here towards the bottom side of the map, looking at Jelly and Mystic just picking up farm underneath the turret. 5 CS behind as that cheater recall that we talk about all the time is going to come in. Teleport available from Leo. He's going to have that advantage, so moves towards the lane once again with that and has a dagger and a Vampiric Scepter to try and help win out in this laning phase. And already the bottom lane certainly could be a point of power for SANDBOX.
Well, Jelly and Mystic here looking to maybe get a little bit aggressive. I don't know what Spirit is.
Just trying to help shove this wave forward, I guess.
Yeah.
Try and get Mystic and Jelly a decent back timing. They should be able to do so, as we'll see whether GorillA is going to be able to hold on to this wave. You can see it can be a little bit rough for the old lovers duo up against the Varus to try and get that wave to shove, because Varus just clears out minions so very well with the hail of arrows and as well the piercing arrow. Is OnFleek now slinking towards the bottom side of the map. And
not all that much happening. I mean, the Ocean Dragon can definitely be started after maybe the Scuttle Crab by OnFleek. His bot lane is recalling.
yeah, actually, they get that wave shoved in, so going to be able to go home for free as Kiin going down pretty low here, as he is up in farm by quite a large margin. However, not necessarily winning when it comes to pressuring Summit away from this minion wave.
He's up 4 CS right now at the end of it all.
Yep.
There were 6 minions for Summit to just pick up with his Qs. And Merktread's first item for Summit as well, so getting that tenacity against the Kennen.
And also didn't have to use the teleport to get back to the lane as well, and does stay even in farm. So certainly huge kudos going over to Summit, navigating this Aatrox matchup so well. And of course, this is a champion that we basically know Summit for, right? He is the Aatrox guy of the LCK. So good to see that he's still showing all of that mastery very comfortably on this pickup. See how he works it into team fights as this game goes on. Because, of course, SANDBOX have themselves a composition that certainly wants to get those 5v5s happening. And Afreeca going to be building towards a similar thing. So this game, based on how the first few fights go, could be over very, very quickly. Keep your eye out. Flanking potential of this Vladimir is very high.
Yeah. Well, we're in a bit of a lull state right now, so, you know, let me ask you the real important question. Are you excited for 3 days from now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch the recent ones again? Maybe.
I mean, I watched them when they came out.
Did you hear Valdez yesterday say that he's not going?
Yeah, I didn't really understand.
Yeah,
I thought like was that banter? I think that was banter.
No, I don't think it's banter.
He's definitely coming to the
well,
movies.
he's coming one way or another. You know.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
You know, last Sith, I gotta make some things happen over here in order to pull him over to the. We're going to Ulsan, by the way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the iPark.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great.
I like that.
Fantastic. It's a date.
Yeah. Remember we tried to go there?
Yeah, and we were. What happened?
The movie wasn't on. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at the wrong theater.
And then we went to Sinchon instead, and that was fine. We nailed it. We got there in the end. We got there in the end. We did. We saw it too, and it was great.
It was fantastic.
Actually,
popcorn.
like to be honest, like when it comes to like remakes of movies like that, especially one where I think that movie was almost completely about how good Tim Curry was.
Yeah.
The original It movie. Sequel to a remake of that kind of movie is normally something that I stay away from, but I was actually, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, they really did nail the remake. Some of the a lot of the more recent remakes have failed.
Yeah, there certainly
really
has
hit
been
the
some
mark.
that haven't worked, yeah.
And I don't know what that really is. Like the Michael Myers one recently, Halloween. Did you see it last year?
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Oh, don't.
Not so good?
Just don't.
Wait, Mike Myers as in Austin Powers? Myers?
No, Michael Myers, Halloween.
Michael Myers different, okay.
The guy with the white mask.
Yeah.
The blue overalls.
I didn't watch a lot of horror like
really
early on because I got really scared. I was
really?
like, yeah, I couldn't watch horror movies until I was like 28, I swear. Just couldn't really handle it. Speaking of not being able to handle things, that's a quickness flash as Leo, he's burning down, but I don't think he's going to die. Last tick, not enough as Summit comes on in. Kiin with the slicing Maelstrom does find OnFleek there as the Ram smashes his way forward, but he's unable to actually pick up any kills just yet. Q comes down as Fly's trying to get in there, still has a flash available, but no one is dead. We mentioned that these team fights are going to be so important, and still, we haven't learned who's going to be able to come out on top, as Afreeca are at least able to take away some turret plates and will not bite off more than they can chew, unless Spirit is going to dive in, looks for OnFleek, who doesn't get that one, as Mystic has to use the flash to get out of the way, but still, everyone survives.
And so this ends up just being a relatively even team fight, but because Afreeca stick around for as long as they did and just posture for 120 gold.
OnFleek.
They end up losing behind. They're losing out on tempo now. SANDBOX, they're going to start the Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, a lot of vision control now for Afreeca as there's the flash in and OnFleek. He thought that they'd gone back. They hadn't, by the way.
He's probably really mad right now. He's probably seething.
He'd be seething in that death chamber.
Yeah, he definitely would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not so good. But he took the risk, and he was punished for it. So that is the first kill going over to Afreeca. First Drake as well as the next one is going to be that cloud that you were talking about. Our prediction on Dragon so far today has been real good.
My coat's off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here to play today.
Yeah, we might be getting extra buttons undone on this shirt as well. It's, if these predictions continue the way they are going.
Don't threaten me with a good time. The viewers can't see it, but I can.
Threaten me with a good time. Oh, my God.
All right.
Regret, instant regret.
What?
Kiin very close to his Hextech Gunblade, up there towards the top side, but he's falling behind in farm just a little. Summit with his Caulfield's Warhammer, building towards his Kindle Gem for that added CDR, as we will be picking up Black Cleaver quite soon. He even gets himself a Rift Scotland. Nice stuff.
Well, so far, so good for Afreeca. Even though they're down 100, 200 gold, that doesn't really matter. Their champions are better the longer that the game ends up going on. Ornn, you can already see, has the Abyssal Mask. Probably will go into Sunfire Cape next. It just would make the most sense.
Yep.
Even
the
though
Forge Fire Cape opportunity there.
Sunfire by itself isn't a good item, but when you upgrade it with Ornn, it's a good item. It's like going from bronze to gold.
Ooh, nice.
You know, that's exactly what that's like. Now, if Kiin dies here, this would actually be pretty bad. Aatrox moving up, Tom around here as well. Kiin sniffing this out, knowing that, hey, there's absolutely no reason for me to die right now. It also has the Warden side of the river.
Yep.
Playing super, super safe. And, well, this isn't fair. The magic resistance Ornn going up against the physical damage Aatrox, that's just not a balanced matchup.
Yeah, I did like that they went for the swap, though, as now Spirit thinking about coming over to try and challenge.
They're dragging Leo over with the teleport, and this is a 13.5 minute.
That's the flash in as well from Kiin. Slicing Maelstrom is there as it is. In fact, GorillA that takes down Shelly, and now a huge ult onto 4 members. Gigantic knock up there from Fly, but not quite enough. A 1-for-1 so far in this team fight. Mystic trying to catch up to the Tahm Kench, but Timothy is walking exactly fast enough. Oh, not quite in the end, as now OnFleek gets over the wall and manages to pick up Shelly. So all is not lost.
Well, he's on a James Bond mission.
Yeah, he's trying to get there into that mid lane to try and steal away all of those plates. You can see Lightning Rush now coming out from Kiin to try and catch up.
No.
But he doesn't press the button.
No.
Damn,
no.
that was close to such a cool thing.
The Herald, the plate.
Hello?
That's Lickitung. You ever play that game in Pokemon Stadium?
Oh, yes!
You know that game? You know the Lickitung game?
Yeah, Lickitung's Lick, where you have to like get the right foods.
The rice and the...
Oh, man, that game was
That's exactly
great.
what that was. But anyways, all right, well, we'll talk about that right after this team fight. So, you see the Call of the Forge God coming in, slicing Maelstrom, just missed on hitting the Lee Song as well. As Summit trying to get in here, but a 5-man, or 4-man, I guess, true display of talent right there by Spirit on the Kiana, locking everyone up and just allowing for the other members of Afreeca to turn this fight around. Sir Thomas ends up going down shortly thereafter. He's stuck in a freeze frame.
I love our observers so much.
But Lee Sin didn't summon the Rift Herald. Now, let's say that he picks up 2 turret plates with that. That's 240 gold.
Yeah. And turret plates are now gone.
Right, and now he's just going to get the same gold that he would have gotten had he captured a turret later, and for no added effect. And you know what? He's not even going to get it.
Yeah, no.
Disappointed. I'm going to give him an F.
Yeah, they just don't have the turret. Okay. Well, so that was just 100% the wrong thing to do. Afreeca now have themselves a slight gold advantage, but not quite up to 1,000 just yet, or anything to write home about, is now Spirit. He's going to get kicked back, and the teleport is going to deter OnFleek from going too aggressive here. Spirit, not exactly the tankiest unit right now, with just a Serrated Dirk and his Warrior enchant. So he does need to be a little bit careful, but this wave is going to get shoved in. And Afreeca Freecs now focus on trying to answer what Dove is doing bottom lane and keeping these waves in order towards the top side of the map. There's another engage from Jelly, but he needs to start trying to actually land that grand entrance onto GorillA, as the Chains of Corruption were there as the response. So that is now a bigger button on cooldown. over in the SANDBOX camp.
Yeah, and I mean, everything is just going so well right now for Afreeca. Here again in game number 2. Cloud Dragon is up.
Yeah,
And
World
now-
Ender has been popped as well. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's, in fact, 2 pretty key ultimates for these next upcoming team fights. Now, not going to be there, as the Cloud Drake should be taken here just for free. And you can see SANDBOX identifying the fact that without Chains of Corruption, without... They didn't even have the teleport on the Varus, so he wasn't even able to get down there. So just a free Drake, and now the Infernal has turned up. So perfect Dragon predictions here for what our friend LS wanted to see, especially if Afreeca was going to get all of them, and it looks like they are on track to do so, at least so far. Is this outer turret in the mid lane also going to be taken? Just Afreeca have too much pressure all over this map, and honestly, it looks like SANDBOX doesn't quite understand how to answer it.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem is that every minute that is passing right now, the champions on SANDBOX slowly get less effective than their counterparts on the other team. So it's definitely not a very comfortable situation. Now there's no neutral objectives up. This is normally the part of the game where I talk about the magical F word.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Freezing.
Ah.
I said it. I saw you blush.
I thought it was something else.
Don't worry.
I'm going to talk about
But probably not going to end up seeing that happen, but nonetheless, no real reason for either party to team fight. So we're gonna get ping pong for about 3.5 minutes. We're gonna have some ping pong going on. So what would you like to talk about? Pull a topic out of the hat.
Well, we have we've done the movies thing thus far, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of holiday plans or anything like that before LCK starts?
Well, I might, and I'm figuring it out. I might actually go back to America very briefly because I gotta go to Beckett grading services.
Okay.
I gotta
Oh,
get.
I'm just gonna hold that. Oh no, never mind. Battle Dance is pretty busted.
Yeah. Back to it. Yeah.
There you go.
I gotta go there. It'll be my second time going to Texas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I've never been to Texas.
Yeah, I only went there once. About 7 years ago.
I know a lot of nice people from Texas. I should probably eventually go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you can let me know exactly what I should be doing while I'm in Texas.
Okay.
I'm not super good at it. I'm thinking about visiting Australia as well, but I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, don't get burned.
Yeah.
There, Atlas. What?
It's looking a little bit disastrous. My heart certainly goes out to all of you guys. If you are watching from Aussie land, make sure you stay safe. It is very dangerous. I just hope that we get through.
Near your hometown doing?
So I'm from Melbourne,
Mhm.
sort of not the outer suburbs, but like about 30 minutes by car away from the city. So, you know, it's getting closer than we would be comfortable with. As there's the kickback, Spirit has to flash and is able to survive. Actually thought that he was just straight up dead there as Dove tries to flash in. He gets the Hemo Plague, but it's not going to be enough damage. And Spirit's going to survive. Well, that was way closer than expected. This guy does have 2 needlessly large rods, but I think they could be a little bit larger.
I actually wonder if Ocean Dragon just came into play right there.
Oh my
That
goodness.
would be, that's really
If they had a Mountain Drake, we would definitely be
yeah,
talking
we
about
would.
how the Mountain Drake was relevant.
Yeah, it
That
was.
2 MR nailed it.
Oh, man.
It's exactly what they needed in order to survive.
Yeah, Dove couldn't account for that one.
No. The calculation was a little bit off.
Yeah, the unseen Mountain Drake's the deadliest. So, Rabadon's death cap almost completed. Now, the other really sad thing about that is I feel like Dove is kind of tilted. He was willing to flash for 300 gold when an Infernal Dragon's up in 2 minutes. So, apparently he values the 300 gold right now more than winning the Infernal Dragon team fight and getting the amplification for his stats and his teammates.
Yep.
So a little bit surprising to see him make that decision. He does have the death cap complete, so it's not even a question on if he needed that gold in order to get it.
And I actually thought that maybe if he was going to complete a Spellbinder first, then he'd have more flanking ability with the extra movement speed, something like that. But now he's just gone the full damage route, so he would really like to have that flash in order to flash into this team fight and get that big burst damage. Not going to have as much of that utility as we were talking about as Jelly. Not going to join Mystic as he goes back home. And he's looking for that Infinity Edge as the next item.
I'm really curious what Oran's gold is right now. Can he actually get to the Sunfire build before this Infernal ends up taking place because it is such a large upgrade when he ends up getting it. He's already, he's level 13. Oh,
that's the kickback.
Cancel.
He's going to flash the Chains of Corruption, though, as GorillA. He Abyssal Voyages, but doesn't actually find any sort of flank. Fly went the correct direction, as now the turret does fall bottom side of the map. Mystic continuing to push, and Kiin is by himself top lane, threatening with that teleport. Remember, it's Infernal Rift, so now Spirit not going to have as much option when it comes to catching people in the jungle and using that Supreme Display of Talent, as Summit is just going to face check him. That's not exactly what they want, but Summit is going to be all right. Spirit's still very squishy as the vision is being cleared out, and Dove is in position. Jelly finds him, gets the knock-up, and now the teleport coming in from Kiin. Fly gets one of the knock-ups as the Supreme Display of Talent does come down. He steals the Drake. I think that was with a smite that he picked up earlier, and now Kiin is just going to try and do his best to rip everyone to shreds. The next one on the menu is going to be that Catfish, and it's going to be Mystic that has that for breakfast, as now deep behind enemy lines is the Aatrox, who just gets pummeled by Spirit. And Afreeca are making this game number 2 look very similar to game 1 very quickly.
And I mean, this is really, really nice to see their formation, their setup, everything surrounding this Infernal Dragon. Now, obviously, SANDBOX, they should have been able to secure the Infernal, all things considered. We're going to take a look at the replay of it. So
I think
you can
he chilled
see,
on like 5 health for a really long time.
I think he got it with Bellows Breath, so take a look at it one more time. Ornn, he doesn't have... It's Bellows Breath that ended up killing.
It was at 51 health. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so Kiin comes in with the flank, and there's just too much for SANDBOX to juggle, and this is a byproduct of a team composition that needs to be ahead of its opponents, now being behind, and it feels so scattered because it doesn't have the ability to just go from point A to point B because it's lacking the damage. It doesn't have what it needs to just plow through in one fell swoop, and so they find themselves in a little bit of a rut. At the end of the day, best case scenario for SANDBOX there was get Infernal Dragon, maybe trade a kill, but it's still a doomed situation. Now they're staring down Infernal Soul, 27 minutes, and they're also staring down the possibility of losing a Baron. Ornn items are able to come in at any second. I don't know what it is in the LCK, but whenever Ornn is available and able to... Okay, never mind. I think he just built it.
Yeah, no, he does have the Forge Fire
quiet.
Cape. That's totally fine, and the Molten Edge just came in for Mystic. So that is a huge power spike, and I believe that's what you were talking about. Dove now looking to try and escape this, but there are 4 bad guys coming, and the Q doesn't land from OnFleek. I just don't think the Hemomancer is going to be able to do too much. Does have the pull down, but yeah, just doesn't last long enough, as now just going to be going into the ground. It's a pretty terrifying death animation, honestly, as Vladimir, of course, ends up as just a small puddle.
Yeah.
Is his corpse. Definitely, Vladimir, a fantastic champion if your computer isn't so good. Doesn't take up any polygons when he's dead. No worries at all.
Well, right now it just really looks like the game has been run away with. There's no real way to get onto Xayah for SANDBOX's team composition. 2 stopwatches also out on Afreeca.
That's a Supreme Display of Talent, but OnFleek does go golden. Ooh. Great knock up there. And GorillA eats his Lee Sin, keeps him alive, but I mean, yes, we could be talking about the Great Escape, but honestly, it's just not quite enough. As the inner turret still falls. Summit's able to get a split push here on the bottom side, so he gets himself this inner turret, but in the meantime, Afreeca are taking away all of SANDBOX's jungle, and that's exactly what they did in game number 1. They deny the majority of the gold on the map that can be taken by either team, and this gold lead will just continue to extend and extend. And when SANDBOX come to fight them in a minute and a half around this Dragon Soul, it's just going to be too much of an advantage for Afreeca, because it's already getting towards that time where Afreeca will just have more items and more money. Because this gold lead that you can see on your screen right now, it's to the tune of about 4K, but with 3 Ornn items, that's what, like 7?
Yeah. So this is where things start getting really scary. We assume Qiyana going to probably pick up Yumu's Ghostblade next.
I hope so, yeah.
Would be what I would expect. And then once Qiyana has that available, that's just another quick, easy Ornn upgrade. I assume that Rakan is going to get Redemption. And so all of these items are just adding insult to injury. And I like this. 50 seconds until Infernal Soul. And once Afreeca has that, there's no coming back for SANDBOX. They will never win a fight again.
Well, Afreeca just walks towards the Infernal Soul. They grab that one, and then they just transition immediately to the Baron, set up a potential siege, and win the game. And if ever a counter-engage happens, Fly is going to exist, right? He has over 3,000 health. He has so much disengage potential as Summit's going to dive in looking for this fight. SANDBOX do need to find some way of deterring Afreeca from being near this Dragon Pit. You can see Fly hasn't switched over to a smite of any kind. Spirit doesn't have flash, as he does have invisibility. And now Summit's looking for Jelly, but doesn't find the Infernal Chains. And now the posturing begins. 8 seconds on this clock as now Kiin in flanking position. Summit also there, but now Dove is going to come in from the side. Spirit being very careful. Supreme Display of Talent doesn't find anything. Kickback there from OnFleek, but putting Kiin towards your team is not what you want to do, as Fly's trying to get out of there. OnFleek is going to fall now, though, and that's a great knock-up. The quickness is there as well. It denies any pull opportunity. The GA is immediately popped, and so are the hopes of SANDBOX Gaming in this game number 2. Infernal Soul on a silver platter, if you would like, sir, and is going to be eaten up here right now. Afreeca can go to a Baron if they want to, but they could also probably just go and win the game if they would like.
Yeah, they likely can just win the game with this Infernal Soul. I mean, there's no chance for SANDBOX to come back in this game. Now, normally, last time I made comments like this in one of the series, some people got a little upset. That
a little miffed?
Yeah, a little, little ticked off, you know.
Right,
but really, this is a 99%. This is the absolute, it is inconceivable to think SANDBOX can win.
Yeah.
This is going to be Baron, Infernal Soul, better scaling, higher base levels across the board, every single champion. There's really no reason to expect that they should be able to come back in this game. And so, Ornn Ultimate, I mean, it's looking like myself personally, you know. Couldn't really do too much. But Lee Sin getting dogged down by Pikachu at the top right there. The quickness locking in everyone. Guardian Angel goes down, which means that Summit is not going to have an item.
I'm just really
available.
glad. Like, also, I mean, we have to remember that this is Jelly. This is the guy that's been playing only Braum and Tahm Kench every single game, and finally he's been unlocked now. Has that redemption that you were talking about. And the way that he navigated that engage was just stunning. There was no opportunity for Dove to be able to use his pull whatsoever, and that was because he got the Grand Entrance, then perfectly timed the quickness to make sure that the knock-up and charm were not overlapping too much and didn't give Dove any opportunity to press that button. So really clean mechanics. The thing that really sort of shows that Afreeca are in such a dominant position for me is the fact that they had 4 stopwatches that they bought for that exact team fight and didn't need any of them.
Yeah, and I mean, they still have them, which is just absolutely disastrous right now for SANDBOX, because the only, maybe SANDBOX could win a 5 versus 4. And that, even that's a maybe.
Yeah.
That is how large the gap is currently inside of the game.
I think 5 versus 3 is possible.
5 versus 3. If it's
Oh no, Bellow's Breath
man.
stops the Lee Sin kick. Supreme Display of Talent just annihilates the Aatrox. Now the quickness comes forward. That's going to line them all up, as that's the ace as fast as possible. Comes through, triple kill there for Mystic. And this Afreeca Freecs roster, if you were sleeping on them in the preseason like the majority of us, it is time to wake up. This squad is legitimately going to be an exciting contender for 2020.
Yeah, and then, I mean, they're dominating so well here today. SANDBOX has only got 2 kills in 2 games. And you know what else I'm really excited about, Atlas? I'm really excited that the scaling comps are winning both games quite handily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see the excitement.
Very comfortable. Hey, the first game wasn't necessarily like scaling win. It was actually really creative how Afreeca played that first one, but I do see your point. We're going into some potentially slow metas here, which is exactly what LS wants. It might just get slow enough for things to start freezing, but I do not want to get you too excited. As, yeah, SANDBOX unfortunately unable to get across the line, even with this gentleman down towards the bottom side with his new young gun, Leo, next to him. SANDBOX are really going to have to try and dig deep to try and get out of what is a huge mental and emotional deficit that they've now found themselves in.
Yeah.
Because this, like, every time you get to a game 3, reverse sweeps are possible. However, the amount of emotional damage that you take from losing in this kind of way, which is just complete suffocation and starvation and inability to play the game, like, oh man, it is so hard to come back. We saw Dragon X try and do it yesterday and saw how hard it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really difficult, and I'm really glad that finally SANDBOX are probably looking at this and pondering what is causing the games to lose. And honestly, I'm very doubtful that they're looking at it as, well, we have to do a lot more in order to just be even in the early and mid stages of the game. And if they're not concluding that, and they're basing it on, well, should have taken this team fight different, should have done this different, then they're arriving at sort of false conclusions and putting added stressors on themselves. So it's definitely a bit perplexing, but they're also just being dismantled at every single stage, and nothing is really able to be achieved. And Summit, you just can't do anything up there in top lane, and that's a really big problem when your best player isn't being able to help out at all.
Yeah, the thing is, like, actually in the laning phase, Summit did pretty well up against the Cannon that, you know, can have a rough matchup into the old, into the Aatrox, if you're on the Aatrox side. Jelly gets a very well-deserved MVP. I think that his Rakan was fantastic. We spoke about that earlier, as this was just a whoopsie from OnFleek, but this was the beginning of the end over here. Gigantic Searing Charge knockup coming through from Fly. I believe didn't even die after that one. Oh, actually, no, that was the one death, was Fly dying just there. As just the series of engages, once again, supreme display of talent, not necessarily doing a whole lot there on Spirit's side, but he's just so slippery on this Qiyana, somehow survives throughout all of this chaos.
Yeah, I mean, he was just achieving so much this game. Summit looked like maybe he was going to be able to escape, but not quite. Eventually ended up being brought down. The Ornn wasn't able to do anything right there, didn't quite matter. They were just way too far behind at this point. So we're going to match point, game number 3. And I have to wonder where SANDBOX's mental is now. Because that's always the question when you're down this much in a series. Now, will they win game number 3, and can they keep their composure and try to bring it back? I'm not so sure that they can.
If they do, then I'm ranking SANDBOX as like top 3 in the LCK, because
slow down there.
If you can reset your mental to that level and then take down a team that is on such high momentum like Afreeca are right now, it's going to take some crazy secret stuff. You know, you remember Space Jam? You know how like they were down so much and then Michael came out with the secret stuff? We need the secret stuff for SANDBOX.
What year was Space Jam?
90s sometime. Late 90s.
You're a boomer.
Do you actually know what generation boomers are? I was like,
what year were you born?
Yeah, well, 88.
Yeah, that year forward. That year backward. That's boomer.
All right, you know what? I'm done with this. We're going to go through a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we get back, possibly the deciding game between Afreeca and SANDBOX. Don't go anywhere.
battlefield. Dominate your competition with the infrared beam. And if that's not enough, experience real rapid-fire action with the Gel Bead Blaster. With the included interactive curriculum, anyone can learn how to code, teach it to move, recognize shapes, and a whole lot more.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to KeSPA Cup 2019. I'm still Atlas, joined by LS, and this series hasn't been going for very long, and Afreeca Freecs already looking absolutely dominant. Another player change to come through here on the SANDBOX side. Fate will be making his way back. Has been playing around in the challenger scene for quite some time. We saw him play a couple of Kiana games not yesterday, but the day before. And, you know, debuting against Faker is certainly something that you don't necessarily want to do. But he did, and they were able to be victorious. So maybe he's just the kind of young spirit that this team needs. This team, however, doesn't really need to worry about any change in Spirit, because Spirit's been playing really well. And instead, it's Sun that's coming in over Fly.
Sun, I'm really interested to see. I'm not ready to put my coat back on yet, but there's two champions in particular that Sun is really, really, really known for. One is Zoe, and the other one is Anivia. And so Anivia is a champion I've talked a lot about for the last 2 months or so, that I think that she's really, really, really strong if you're very proficient at her and if your teammates know how to play with her. And so could we be having a Zoe or an Anivia be coming in here? I'm not totally sure, but it would definitely be interesting. It is also on red side, which is the... I don't have my coat on. What?
Yeah, no. Yeah. See, you can see. Coat's off.
What's going on here?
We are feeling like the prediction is working out relatively well. Oh dear, we didn't have the lights on either. That's why things were a little bit weird on the green screen in the background, but we've got that nailed now. And what, are you expecting a SANDBOX win? Is that what you're saying? You don't believe in the Sun? Oh no, the hood's coming back up as well. This is an absolute disgrace. Well, at least one of us has a tie on today. You were wearing a tie just the other day. And now we've gone like, I don't know, Eskimo jacket. And I'm quite perplexed.
Thanks.
These predictions really have ruined him. Fortunately, though, it's looking like this 3-0 Afreeca prediction is working out relatively well. So is this the? Are you making the freezing reference?
I'm making the freezing reference one more time.
You feel like you missed out on it the first
I'm
time?
actually trying to. This is the dance that you have to do to summon Anivia. You're gonna put this on. Yeah, you don't have it on, so it's not really working.
Is it kind of ironic that Anivia is cold, you know, likes the whole freezing vibe, but is also a champion that has one of the highest abilities to wave clear? So you wouldn't do a lot of freezing with Anivia. No? Not. Oh god. I mean, I feel like I should be the one leaving because you're the guy in a dang jacket.
Listen,
it's not going so well. Also not going so well for SANDBOX. Over in their camp, which is why we're talking about Anivia's, about freezings, things like that.
She has a wall.
She does have a wall.
She can wall off the enemy minions or her own.
And can build the freeze potentially. Okay.
See?
Okay.
You're thinking about it, right?
You can also, you can affect the way that the minions conga line towards, and you can also stack waves with her quite comfortably.
You can even make the wall in the middle of your minions and send some to their death.
Ooh.
Never thought about that one. I know that.
Nope. That's a new one for me. So very excited to see whether the Anivia comes out. She's definitely not going to be picked. We're just going to spend all of this time talking about Anivia, and she's just not going to come out. Just don't think so. Although I am surprised that Fly was subbed out, because he has actually been playing really well.
Do you think that Afreeca's still going to win?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We got the double mid lane subs happening.
Well, I imagine that Fly was subbed out for some reason, though. There's no reason to just randomly take him out here to put in your sub mid laner in the final match.
It might be something like, they've got 2 buffer games now. They may as well, give as much, high pressure experience to another player as possible. But I'd say probably just win, most of the time,
Yeah, that would probably just make a little bit more sense. But maybe they're just trying to get, well, it's not even really experience because Sun has played before.
Yeah, he was on the LCK stage. Yeah.
Right, so it
he got a pentakill on Zoe. Probably one of the most, I don't know, I guess, one of the biggest letdowns of a pentakill.
Yeah.
Where he just sort of ran around and cleaned up a team fight.
It was
but
definitely
still, it happened.
Yeah. So we'll see what is going on here. I don't believe that we have word on what is
there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm not entirely sure what is entirely happening here.
I remember the last time we had a delay.
Yeah. Do you want to stick around this time? How are we doing? Oh no.
Don't worry, I can just go like this.
I've just got to make sure that I hide
Look,
the script
the
so that
lights
you
can't
don't
hit me
read it
now.
and then figure out exactly what the problem is and then bail on the situation entirely.
I look like you know the Darth Kermit memes.
Yeah, you actually do look exactly like that.
You will not pick Olaf.
You're actually lost Sith right now. This is really bad. Got old Nicholas Palpatine chilling out with me trying to commentate some League of Legends. Are you going to wear that coat when we go to Star Wars in a couple of days?
Absolutely. This is my winter jacket.
All right.
Yeah. I got it last year.
I think we need to get you a black jacket as well so that you can go full Sith.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was actually a really big fan of Kylo Ren originally because I just thought his name sounded really good. But
I mean, I'm a big fan of Kylo Ren as
then
well because I'm a fan of Adam Driver.
I don't think
'cause
it's a
he's amazing.
coincidence My Chemical Romance came back this last month. You know what I mean?
They did?
Yeah.
They released an album?
Reunion tour.
Oh, my good. Are they coming to Korea?
On. What?
Are they coming to Korea?
I have no idea. I know some people in Korea that want to go if they're doing a world tour. I don't know what the extent of their tour is.
I would love to go see them.
Yeah, I would too, actually.
Damn.
I'm not afraid to admit that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, neither am I.
So that's okay.
Were you a Black Parade man, or were you like a?
I liked My
earlier
Chemical
albums?
Romance. I liked MCR. I liked System of a Down.
Yeah, me too.
As well. So
I wasn't as hot on System of a Down when they were really popular. I sort of like got into them later, which was weird. It's not how you're supposed to do it, really, but sort of skipped over that one.
Yeah.
Mm.
That makes sense. Do you like Serge Tankian's solo stuff?
No, I haven't actually heard any of it.
No. Okay. Well, yeah, he had a few solo projects.
Okay.
I think that was in like 2008, 2009.
All
So
right, well, I'm getting my music learning going on here. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I actually just had to check the old phone just to see whether any of the messages work from production, but none of them are actually there. So still in the dark just a little bit, although the lights are on, so technically not actually.
my eyes are fine like this.
Yeah, well, you've got a full, like, shaded hood situation.
Yeah, I am completely fine. I won't leave you like this.
This shot looks ridiculous. Oh, man.
You will scale.
All right. Well, I'm going to have a look at what Sun's been playing.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
He's currently rank 100.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
So what's that put him at? Like 1200 LP or what's going on
He's
here?
been playing some Fizz, only a couple of games, though. Doing a lot of losing by the looks of things.
Okay.
And this account doesn't seem to be the one that he's actually been playing a lot of. Only 4 games in the last 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
That is not looking like it's going to be a positive. But a lot of high win rate on Aurelia on this account. Some Cassiopeia in there and hasn't been playing very much of the Zoe recently.
Yeah.
Or the Anivia that we were talking about. So maybe he's got an Anivia one-trick account that he can utilize. As I think this might be a sign that we're ready to get into the pick and ban. Here we go. All right. No canceling of the stream this time around. We are into game number 3. Let's see whether Afreeca can cleanly finish this one up or whether it's going to be SANDBOX that are able to come out on top. As also, we'll see whether we can rid LS of his jacket once and for all with a correct prediction of the Afreeca Freecs 3-0. Braum is going to be banned. This is fantastic. This means Jelly doesn't have to play Braum anymore.
Yeah, and Akali, Lucian remaining the standard bans on the red side.
And the Aurelia ban could actually be for Sun. Sun is he's been playing a hell of a lot of Aurelia in solo queue.
Ooh, Ornn.
As the Ornn ban comes down. Fly's not even in, and they're still scared of the Ornn because, of course, Kiin was the one that played it the first time here in the KeSPA Cup.
And Misfortune now going to be banned away, so will the Varus priority remain?
Oh, God.
Come on.
I mean, SANDBOX have lost.
It's so abusable. It really is so abusable. They're locking in the Tahm Kench first pick. And even though it's not getting abused, that doesn't change that it is abusable. Which means that it's a very punishable B1 opening.
Yeah.
B1 referring to blue 1, aka first pick. So it's so surprising how easy you can draft against it and dismantle it. And all that you need to do is choose team compositions that have modes of disengage and poke and siege. It's all that you need to do. Tom hates all three of those types of things. He doesn't bode very well against any of them.
Well,
Which I guess
now
that's the same thing, but
we've got the supreme display of equality coming in as the Rumble and the Kiana are locked away.
do you notice how their background sort of looks the same?
Yeah.
They're in the same room.
Also, their ultimates work very well in conjunction with one another.
Yeah,
so
they do.
slam someone against a wall and also be able to lay down the red carpet over the top certainly is a pretty comfortable way of winning a team fight. As now SANDBOX, they will lock away the Aatrox, most likely force Summit to try and get him a decent matchup. This Rumble can, of course, be going into the mid lane. We're still not entirely sure what Sun has been playing the most of recently. Afreeca Freecs have been notorious for a really long time of being really difficult to scout because they do a lot of in-house scrims.
Yes.
So this has been something since I Love Uv joined the roster. You know, a lot of secrecy when it came to developing these dark technologies. So Nautilus going to be locked in. That's likely going into the hands of Jelly here. And they could try and pinch the jungle now on Afreeca's side because, of course, we are assuming that Spirit is going to once again be on the Kiana, going for his 5th victory on this champion this tournament. And Lee Sin is going to be the first ban, so it sounds like they are doing what we were expecting them to do.
And we'll see what the follow-up bans are going to be. Again, the Rumble is concealed as being a mid or top flex. I mean, in theory, the Kiana as well for mid and jungle, although it is likely going to end up on Spirit. I'm not feeling as comfortable about their initial 3-on-3 against SANDBOX here inside of this draft so far, but we'll see what they can end up rounding it out with. Zaya now banned away. Zoe.
Interesting ban.
Banned by Afreeca is definitely a bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost half expect that to be the mistake. You know, it's like, oh, pick me Zoe, and then, oh, whoops, we had an extra ban. Because, of course, Sun, very notable Zoe player. But I'm glad that we're not seeing her. I feel like, you know, Fly did have a really good performance on the Zoe earlier on in the tournament. However, I feel like she is a little bit outdated in this preseason thus far. Sivir now going to be looked at. Slight base damage buff, I believe, on this patch. 9.24B, and it is going to be locked away. So Sivir Nautilus down towards the bottom side. And a champion that Mystic did play as one of his cores in amongst the Varus and the Ashe that he was so known for over in China.
And it is locked in. And so Sivir, obviously another scaling champion added to the mix. And SANDBOX, they're highlighting Olaf. And now they're going to need to accompany this with a very strong mage in mid lane. Will it just indeed be Syndra?
Syndra or Orianna certainly are both decent options if you're just looking for a safe blind pick. Remember, Sun can be playing the Nautilus, so we might be also in for a potential support pickup here. I do want to go back to the Braum ban, because now that we see the Tahm Kench being locked in here, it does make a little bit more sense that they'd ban the Braum, wanting to take away one of the most notable counters. But Orianna locked in, and now the Camille being looked at. Afreeca Freecs' composition as far as a 4-1 is very scary. Their wave clear with Sivir and a Ricochet is going to be very strong, but no, it's going to be the Hecarim. They're going all in on the team fight. And this is sort of the technology that Koreans really like to do. We saw this come out. Doran, I believe, debuted the Hecarim into the Aatrox in this tournament, and I feel like scrims have been going really well for the Hecarim side of the matchup, but it hasn't been working here in the KeSPA Cup so far.
Well, it's another pick for Kiin to try to show his stuff on.
Well, this is actually, I think, one of the only champions that he's lost on so far. This will be the second time that Kiin has played the Hecarim, and it was into this matchup last time as well, and that was one of the very few games that they lost so far this tournament.
Well, I will say that this time around, the team compositions, they feel definitely a bit more close than what I would like to say. It would be comfortable if you're an Afreeca fan, but the Sivir in the Rumble scales, because of the dynamic of SANDBOX's team composition, it's really going to come down to Sivir and Hecarim against Varus and Orianna.
Yeah. And also, it's going to be two team fight compositions wanting to fight each other around the mid game. Both of them scaling, you know, relatively comfortably. Of course, when you look at a Rumble, you expect things to be happening more often in the mid game. But Sivir, of course, scales out of control, and Hecarim is one of those champions that once he gets that Trinity Force core and then becomes really tanky, it's going to be almost impossible for GorillA to keep this Varus alive if there's a horse canting around the back line. So it's going to be a lot about how these teams are going to maneuver themselves, and look at the positioning, guys, in the team fights as well. As last time, remember, we didn't actually hear any of the fan chants, and so I'm just going to talk over it. As here we are under the rift for game number 3, possibly the final one of KeSPA Cup for 2019. Theoretically now 2020, but we still call it KeSPA Cup 2019, even if it is January. How do you feel going into the new decade, LS? Are you excited about what the 20s can bring? Do we get to call it the 20s, or does that still mean the 1920s?
Ooh. I don't know what I would say.
It's really, is that a boomer question? Did I ask a boomer
yeah, that's
question?
a boomer question. I don't tend to think about stuff like that.
Yeah, sorry. It's a little bit perplexing, because you say the 10s as well for like last decade? Very silly. The teens?
Well, when you refer to the 2000s, you do refer to 2000 to 2009.
Don't people call them the noughties?
What?
Yeah, because there's a lot of zeros. That's Halo Barrows getting a lot of value.
I don't know about that one, Atlas. I don't hang out at the Boji Club.
Okay, my bad.
You know.
Well, Jelly is going to have to blow his flash here early on, as SANDBOX have started making moves, and I like it. We sort of skipped over the fact that OnFleek had picked the Olaf, because we just prefer not to talk about it. It's one of those sad things that might leave me alone on the broadcast. And now Jelly, unable to actually go back and heal up or anything like that, as that was a very satisfying boomerang that came out there from Mystic. And Spirit dancing around here will find this ward put down by SANDBOX, but also gives away his position, as you can see, as the pings are violently heading towards exactly where the Kiana is. It's going to be a trade of chickens. There's good old Lickitung there on the bottom side. GorillA just trying to poke Mystic out here, and the range advantage is real between the Varus and the Sivir. So this could be a relatively difficult matchup, at least for the first few levels before Mystic can take control of the wave that a Sivir can certainly do.
Yeah, and I mean, Leo is just doing a really good job with his spacing so far inside of the matchup. Meanwhile, in mid, not really anything too exciting happening. Important to note that Fate does have a spellbook on the Orianna.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've had 100% spellbook so far for the Oriannas that we've seen here in KeSPA Cup.
And, well, Sun has Comet, but Spirit coming up here. Oh, man.
Yeah, Kiin's going to be able to get the knockback. There's the Umbral Dash, I believe, is on cooldown. The Flash isn't, but it's not enough to get them away. And First Blood is going to go over to the horse, and this is a much better start than what we saw last time. But that positioning is so predictable when there's a Hecarim into the game. I think that's a large reason why the Hecarim hasn't been successful, is because he can be so, like, the positioning of the jungler can be so predictable, as Infernal Chains is doing a lot of work there. Spirit not able to go back quite yet.
And I think he's going to cancel it one more time, and this is actually really rough right now for Kiin and for Spirit. This interestingly enough, the kill is almost sort of being negated because Summit is going to get 6 CS and XP that Kiin didn't get. And then in addition to that, Kiin shared his XP with Spirit. Summit's actually ahead in the lane.
That's crazy. You can see actually level 4 has been completed here for the Aatrox, and Kiin isn't even going to teleport because he feels like he's not going to be able to get enough value.
He can't teleport. He
can't
run
he's
the
going
risk.
to.
Oh, he does run the risk of if Olaf is there, but this is a very good example of how a jungler gank can be successful and then ruin your lane.
Yeah. I think the reasoning was that Kiin was waiting for the Ninja Tabi, which is being able to pick up right now. an item that is very beneficial. Boots too for a Hecarim. I'm a champion that scales off movement speed. Certainly don't need no introduction for that one to understand why that's good. So Kiin at least going to have that, and let's see whether this lane can be salvaged. It's so weird talking about the guy that got first blood having to salvage a lane, but it is precisely what's going to have to happen here, and not able to utilize that W very effectively either, as Summit in his element on his Aatrox against Kiin's new technology in the Hecarim. Spirit making his way down bottom side, but there's an OnFleek here.
I mean, OnFleek is just running around on this Olaf, just power farming. He's not really able to achieve all that much, but hold on.
Yep, we're going to land the Harpoons. Only level 4 as OnFleek has to flash, but immediately Spirit's going to flash after him. Good slow from the Chilling Smite is going to save the Olaf. But now, at level 4, the Olaf doesn't have flash and will not be doing too much of anything for the next little while. At least not with that Summoner spell.
And the issue there was Sun was silenced, so not able to follow up with anything. Spirit gonna come over now and try to capture this Cloud Dragon really quickly.
Yep, Jelly gonna come down as well, so it looks like they are gonna be able to take this one pretty well. Sun actually with complete control of the minion wave at the moment. Fate teleporting back into the mid lane, with Sun being able to just freely walk down. Next Drake is going to be that Infernal. So Ocean or Mountain Soul to come in last. We're going to have a bit of move fast, a bit of extra damage. And Afreeca have already taken away the added movement speed. Direct buff to the Hecarim. Am I right?
Yeah.
Cloud Drake's super valuable this game.
The ultimate, I mean, the ultimate cooldown is also really valuable for the Nautilus every time that he wants to try to make a pick, as well as a jungle Qiyana.
Yeah.
Anytime she's trying to actively seek something out. And also the Rumble with the Equalizer.
Not to mention Sivers on the Hunt, which is going to be certainly a tool used in conjunction with all of those buttons in order to engage and buff the Hecarim. Movement speed, guys. You understanding the synergy now? It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, 4 minutes until a Infernal Dragon ends up coming up. And honestly, the most disappointing soul this game for both parties would have to be Mountain this time around. Ocean would definitely be a lot more exciting and have both parties fighting over. OnFleek doesn't have flash available, and Kiin does have his ultimate, so Summit is really going to have to tell a story here.
Yeah, so Kiin going very aggressive, gets the bounce back, and there is the fear. So World Ender is out. Kiin's just looking for this. Doesn't have flash, remember, as the ultimate was used just on the spot, and OnFleek is going to get it with the reckless swing. A little bit greedy there from Kiin. And now Leo trying to run away. Mystic as well, going to get gobbled up by GorillA as Jelly was looking for Leo, but great sidestep, and Mystic is going to get taken down. A complete switcheroo on how the games have been going previously. SANDBOX winning in 2 lanes at once is now Sun trying to rectify it.
And here
Jelly wants to interrupt the back if he can.
Ooh. Jelly, doesn't even try to. So it's going to be a red buff getting stolen away. And yeah, this time around, SANDBOX are the ones that are in the driver's seat, but they need more advantages. This definitely isn't enough yet to really say that it's super comfortable, especially not with the Infernal Dragon coming up in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really interesting evaluating the compositions as we have a look at this replay once again of exactly what happened towards the bottom side. You understand why Afreeca are fighting, but I feel like this was navigated really well from SANDBOX.
Jelly definitely being a little bit hesitant with most of the things that he ended up doing. Obviously, if that hook hit onto Varus, he would maybe be able to do something. But they took the trade because they felt confident when they had the minions. But Leo and GorillA able to acknowledge and play out everything mechanically better.
Yeah, and now able to make it into a huge CS advantage as well. 56 to 81, nothing to scoff at. At 9 minutes into this game, OnFleek going to find this ward in the Shelly pit. As now Afreeca understand that they don't at least need to worry about a Viking ruining their day on the bottom side of the map.
Terrell likely going to get picked up here by the SANDBOX team. And Kiin trying to push Summit into the turret.
Yeah, not quite able to. Yeah, that was a little bit of a shame.
Yeah,
I like the synergy.
Yeah.
You saw the turret shot come down. I actually thought that was onto Summit, but it was as the minion moved in. As Weldender has been popped, and now SANDBOX looking for Shelly. Kiin in trouble. There's the equalizer. OnFleek going to be able to take the Rift Herald. Fate's going to pick that one up. A supreme display of talent goes a little bit wide, but Kiin's still able to get that kill. He falls, and now Spirit is trying to get out of there. Sun, remember, doesn't have ultimate. This is a 2v2, and Spirit needs to try and keep himself alive. GorillA is going to turn up, makes it that 2v3, but Spirit does get out. I believe that was with the audacity towards the end. Now Afreeca Freecs with some control bottom side of the map. But otherwise, Shelly being picked up by SANDBOX, still a win for them.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to have the Rift Herald available whenever they do decide to use it. Mystic and Jelly just trying to crash in that bot wave. Do whatever they possibly can. And Kiin, you really do have to feel for him. This is a pretty rough situation for him to be in, and it's a byproduct of that initial first gank where they just greeted on their recall. Summit couldn't quite get the kill, but OnFleek able to certainly do so because Kiin had to commit himself with the Hecarim ultimate. And now 15 seconds until the Infernal Dragon's coming up, and Kiin is barreling towards the top lane rather than going towards the Infernal, eating the Infernal, and then initiating a lane swap with his teammates.
He does have teleport, so maybe he's just trying to clean up this wave. Understands that he has teleport advantage as well over Summit, who now turns up top lane. And an opportunity presents itself for Afreeca to be able to utilize that. As Spirit and Jelly move on over, but they're going to clear out this control ward instead of ganking the bottom lane. And the Infernal Drake is there, and now opportunity for Afreeca to try and pick that one up. Left is in the river, though, so it's not going to be super easy. Alcove ward in there for Mystic, and it might be a ward that doesn't get spotted. Of course, teleport flank ward is what it's there for Kiin. See whether they actually notice it as Spirit. He's moved on down. Ping's coming in. Teleport is actually far deeper here for Kiin as he gets behind GorillA and Leo. Mystic taking a lot of damage, but already way too much taken by Leo. Just gets spat out on top of Mystic. In comes the horse. Double kill instantly is now OnFleek trying to run away. Ragnarok has been popped. Supreme display of talent. Comes in and gets two hits.
What is happening?
Just gigantic. SANDBOX have fallen apart. They had so much control. And then Afreeca, they press that teleport button from their top laner, and they just wipe SANDBOX out.
Kiin able to come down like a freight train into the bottom lane, picks up the kills, and Leo and GorillA just going a little bit too aggressive, and not much is able to be done here. GLP actually cast in mid lane.
Yeah, Sun actually has to flash.
Going for a solo kill, doesn't quite hit it. Bit of a mechanical error on him right there. Yep. Now summoning the Rift Herald, though. So all of that pressure used to convert into this Rift Herald that's going to be used here to get him some plates. And so the Orianna is going to manage to make herself quite big. Kiin comes in to mid, kills the Herald from behind. They really want to get that last plate, I assume.
Yeah, or at least take down this outer turret just to free up some space here on the map. Teleport in, I believe, from Sun, but see whether they can actually protect. Remember, the turret plating protection is very strong when there's 5 members of the enemy team, so they're going to have to back away.
This is really weird. People always tell me that 5 champions can just dive 3 under a tier 1 turret, but apparently they just couldn't get that plate right there or dive.
No, you need that plate, dude.
That's
really
very important. As we take a look at the replay, Tom Kench, I mean, Leo and GorillA, they were trying to go for a really hard trade. Kiin comes in off of the teleport. Olaf doing my favorite thing in the world, running away from a team fight.
And walking on the wall.
Getting killed by Dr. Eggman right there. So, truly a fortunate thing. What?
He was Robotnik.
Oh, did I ask you who your favorite Sonic character was?
Yeah, Knuckles. Yeah, this
right, okay, yeah, we had that. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. What do you think about people that like Tails?
Oh, really?
Isn't that
those
strange?
people exist?
Oh, trust me.
I mean, okay,
it's
so
definitely strange.
there was one of the Mega Drive games where being Tails was just straight up OP.
Yes.
So maybe I can understand for that instance, you know?
Did you ever play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle?
Yes, love that
Okay,
game.
you know
Did
Amy
you just...
Rose?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about opponents not getting to have fun?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Did
you play the DS game that came out alongside, like Sonic DS? We're going to
No,
have a look at
hold
this
on.
fight. Gigantic knock-up as the Afreeca Freecs have found even more Gorilla Flashes in the end, but in goes Spirit. Supreme display of talent lands on 4. Even catches the rest trying to get under their turret, but that is a big shockwave. Going to wipe out Jelly, and Afreeca are going to be deterred from the rest of this dive. Leo very happy about that. He's only on 200 health, but Afreeca still walk away with a slight team fight advantage. And they have their horse there to defend Summit in that mid lane at the same time.
And so things are going really well right now for Afreeca. Didn't quite find everything that they had wanted right there. But Kiin is saying, actually, buddy, you're in lethal.
Yep.
And Summit's saying, I think you
Oh
need to,
no! The
you need to
Infernal
straighten up.
Chain's so strong as Spirit says, I'm just going to take this kill now. And a little bit embarrassing there for our pony, but otherwise, still just fine.
It's still really impressive, though. It was really close. They ended up getting the flash out of Summit, which is a more valuable summoner spell.
Yep.
And also, it's not that bad that Kiin ends up going down and Spirit pick up the kill, because a kill and an assist is worth more than just a kill.
Hey, that's true. And they get the pressure in the mid lane anyway, as now Spirit is trying to run around this alcove. Can he get into the brushes is the question, as there's the odd... Okay, not enough. Yeah.
That was a Keck W moment up there for our...
Not entirely sure what he was
friendly
doing there
Kiin.
or how he got there, as Jelly made up for his missed dredge line by
that was
beautiful thread the needle.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like what you just said, the thread of the needle right there. Now, if Spirit was a little bit quicker, it could have been higher up, but he still managed to hit a 4-man ultimate on the Kiana, but it's a little bit too far forward, went Jelly.
Yep.
And so right now, 400, 500 gold advantage for SANDBOX, but that is being invalidated by the Infernal Dragon in terms of just stats that are being given. Why does...
What, are you okay?
Yeah, take a look at Rumble's items.
Yeah, he's got a cool book. Didn't you just say this is where the script was? Afreeca wanted to know whether they had to cancel their plans, remember? There's Fate. Shockwaves, just to try and clear out the minion wave. And that is going to do exactly that. Turret is not going to get below half of its health bar. He'll stick down towards this bottom side. Can play around with his spell shield to try and keep himself safe against Summit, but it's not a matchup you'd really want as the Sivir.
Well, Kiin just trying to push in this mid turret. We haven't had a turret fall.
Yeah, nothing yet.
This is a very long first brick. Now, Afreeca, they're going to be in the driver's seat to get this Ocean Dragon.
It's going to spawn immediately. Remember, all of the extra brushes now in this rift mean that the flanks are going to be
Rift
very
Herald.
important to think about. Yeah.
That's a Shirley, too.
Yeah, Shirley's going to come down and plunge her skull into this turret and easily pick that one up. First brick, like you were talking about, is going to be taken. She's not going to get a second charge or anything like that, but position now
I love
going to be
what
given to SANDBOX.
Afreeca's doing, although Spirit did just get caught up, but they're inviting them into the river, and they want to flank them from multiple angles, so like a pack of hyenas right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is what Afreeca's team composition is very good at. SANDBOX not taking the bait. They're not just walking into the runway. If they do it, things are going to get really scary.
A lot of pings out onto where the Hecarim is. They need to keep eyes on him as Spirit. He's got full vision of what's going on here. Can he actually dash over the wall? Gets the Supreme Display of Talent, steals the Dragon away, and in goes Kiin into the backline. They are not done yet, as Mystic is eventually going to get taken down. Leo, a lot of damage, as now Summit over the wall. It is going to even out this trade, but now we're one Drake away from that Dragon Soul for Afreeca Freecs, and then a 3-0 at the KeSPA Cup final.
And this is really scary because now it's not only the Baron, it is the Ocean Soul, which is one of, if not the strongest soul in the game that you can end up getting. Spirit goes over the wall, wins the smite fight against the Olaf. Hecarim comes over the cliff like Gandalf at Helm's Deep. Just ends up killing Gimli inside of the dragon pit. Atrox
Gandalf wouldn't do that.
No, well,
he killed an
yeah,
orc.
he does in this
It was an
edition.
orc, wasn't it?
No,
I mean,
whatever
I guess
you want it to be.
Okay.
Alice, okay, calm down.
He wouldn't kill Gimli. He likes Gimli.
Oh.
Doesn't he? They've both got beards. I'm
Listen.
quite upset after that analogy.
It's all right. Just let it go.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
All right.
Did you see Frozen 2?
No.
Neither did I.
Which, I mean, to some might sound a little bit confusing, given the title.
Yeah.
Sort of is right up my alley, but
Yeah.
you know, not.
Also, given the attire.
I'm not really a big fan.
Yeah, I feel
you know,
like
movies
let
in
everyone
Korea
down.
have actually been very, very much of a letdown.
Yeah, I think you were talking
the
about this with Valdez in one of the semifinal matches.
Like, there
I
was
think I agree.
Joker that came out, what,
That was
October
good,
6th?
yeah.
And then nothing for the rest of October.
I did hear that Knives Out's really good, and I haven't actually watched it yet.
There was a horror miniseries that actually took place at the end of October into November.
What was that?
World's quarterfinals.
Mhm.
That came out in Korea. That was something that.
Oh my god.
That one was a little bit weird.
Yeah, I watched that one as soon as it came
Yeah, I
out.
did too.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic stopwatch used there by SSUN Spirit. Flashes on in. Does still have the ultimate available. I thought he was going to press that R button, but couldn't actually find Fate. Almost gets it there with just the tip. But not quite able to. The Baron warded up for the moment on SANDBOX's side. GorillA with no flash. OnFleek has his. We'll have Smite quite soon as well. And Afreeca not going to go for any sort of Baron shenanigans at this stage. We're just going to clear out the vision around it.
In Afreeca, they don't really need to do anything. They can just patiently wait for the Ocean Dragon, and they can flip on it. That is absolutely an objective that you can flip on. And it feels really, really nice. Now we're getting a big zoom out of the map right now. A lot of blue, a lot of brushes on this map. It reminds me of, did you ever play Burning Crusade?
I did.
You know the, in Outland, the wet area?
Zangarmarsh.
Zangarmarsh, yeah, that's what it looks like when they
Yep, no, I
go
agree.
towards Baron. See?
I agree.
There
I quite liked that zone.
I liked that map.
I thought that zone was cool.
That zone is, zone. Yeah, nice.
mm.
I like that zone.
What was the instance in there?
I have no idea. Oh, something Fen Depth, right?
Yeah, something like that. There was a raid instance, and that raid was like really cool. Had a boss that you had to fish. You had to fish him up. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well.
I can't believe I forgot. That's where you get T5 as well, and Tier 5 looked really cool.
Okay.
It's a really long time ago. I'm certainly showing my boomer talking about that.
Well.
Anyway. Afreeca Freecs now positioning themselves around Baron is going okay, but SANDBOX do own the river for the moment. The thing that I find scary if you're a SANDBOX fan, which is just going to be scary in general, but what I find really scary is that Mystic is just in the jungle, clearing things out where he can, getting a lot of the farm that's being given over, and as soon as this Sivir hits like 2-3 items, he's real scary. Now has 2,000 gold that he was just sitting on. I think that's Infinity Edge.
Yep.
As item number 2, yep, ticks over to 2.1.
I didn't see anything leave the shop. That's truly mystical.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he is a mystical guy.
Do we want to name him the shop owner?
Oh, yeah.
Let's call him Bartholomew.
Oh,
you like that?
Bartholomew. What a fantastic
that's
name.
Bartholomew.
So
up there at the top
there's a name that Bartholomew always reminds me of, and it's Bartholomew Cubbins. And I just have absolutely no recollection of where that name came from.
Okay.
Yeah. I need
All right.
I need to Google it, and hopefully it's not from somewhere inappropriate, which I highly doubt it is, because it's from my memory from back when I was like 7.
What call we the bottom left shopkeeper?
Bottom left? Ooh. No,
We gotta think on this
It'll
one.
come to me.
Yeah,
It'll come to me.
it'll eventually come.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
Emilio Estevez.
It's a woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez.
All right.
I like him.
Ocean.
I haven't seen Breakfast Club for a really long time.
Ocean Soul's up. And this is the highest priority objective right now in the entire game. There is nothing larger than this. SANDBOX, they're just going to start it. They've done this rodeo a couple of times.
Big teleport comes in from Sun. I believe it's unbeknownst to SANDBOX as it's down to half health. They're coin flipping because Spirit has found his way over. But SANDBOX are not interested in the Drake. They want to find a kill here so they can secure it more comfortably.
I think Kiin just wants to get the red first.
Yep, well, the Dragon is going to reset
they found
once
Spirit,
again.
though.
Spirit, no! He dives in, didn't understand how healthy the Drake was, and now the fight has to be on Afreeca's side. Great Fear into the backliners. Look at this damage. Mystic, with his newly bought Infinity Edge, is just cutting SANDBOX down, trying to kite this one out. One more auto is going to do it. The flash in the end is now Kiin, diving onto Leo and is going to do it. One auto would have got him, but the horse is not falling this time. And at 25 minutes, I think this is the one to break the camel's back as the Ocean Soul to come in for the Afreeca Freecs. And now it's looking like all but a little bit of tidy up before this is a 3-0.
I mean, this has to be the end of the game. This is a team fight where they didn't have their jungler, who Summit and Leo popped immediately at the start of all of this. And then Kiin gets into the backline, forces the stopwatch out of Leo, and then, like you were saying, Mystic just dealing so much damage. This Prestige Edition Aatrox is not quite able to do enough, and now, with the Ocean Soul, these fights will never look this close again. It's going to be near impossible for SANDBOX to overcome this. It's going to be a certain Baron going the way of Afreeca because it's an Olaf without Flash. There's no chance that he's stealing it away. And then, even if they do manage to live through the Baron, there's an Elder Dragon coming up.
An Elder Dragon is pretty good, LS. You have told me that multiple times. That Drake, pretty damn strong. As OnFleek coming on up, trying to get the vision. They at least do still have the Rift Scuttle vision, which could be useful for SANDBOX. Because like you say, Afreeca's ability to just start Baron with this Ocean Soul, they can just start Baron whenever they want because they'll always be healthy enough to fight afterwards, given all the extra regen that you are going to pick up. Very close to item number 3 for Mystic as well. When that comes in, man, this Sivir is going to be so terrifying, especially given that OnFleek and Summit want to be going together. GorillA as well is very short range. Leo and Fate should be able to get away from the ricochet damage, but the front line is just going to evaporate if Mystic has his way.
The only, I mean, the only saving grace right now that SANDBOX has is some sort of a miracle Orianna ultimate.
Yep.
But it is going to be so hard, and I like what Afreeca's doing. They're being very slow and steady. They have hundreds of gold on every champion, thousands on Mystic.
Well, given the fact that the gold at the top of the screen is actually still very, very close, that could just mean that SANDBOX are actually stronger when it comes to the items that they have pieced together.
And so, recall complete rapid-fire cannon purchased on Mystic. And personally, I actually don't like that over Phantom Dancer in this spot because with the Lifeline passive and just the utility that Phantom Dancer gives, no one's going to kill you. Not through Ocean Soul. So, feels like it's more, the rapid-fire cannon is much more of a win-more item rather than a win-secure item.
I think you're right. I actually really like Phantom Dancer on Sivir just in general because of her shorter range than most AD carries. Having those defensive opportunities is certainly worthwhile. But that is not what Leo has gone for. This guy has full damage and has just completed the Hurricane. So we have seen Leo actually pump out all sorts of DPS so far in this game. But whether he's going to be able to with Kiin roaming around the Rift, it's a sight that we've yet to see so far this game. Is now OnFleek just getting queued by Spirit here, who does really love his grass queue. Terra shapes the grass almost every single time.
Well, a lot of the champions in this game have for the most part, begun slowing down. We have a team fight, Spirit Flash.
Yeah, had to use a stopwatch here as well as the teleport is coming through. Now GorillA has taken Spirit down, but the Supreme Display of Talent already on cooldown, and this is what you were talking about. In goes Kiin, and this team fight looks so different to what we experienced before because that was Spirit getting caught and Afreeca just straight up winning the fight afterwards.
It doesn't matter. There's too much built-in sustain on the side of Afreeca right now that even if you can get one of their members, they can still win a 4v5. We saw this last game because the Infernal Soul. A lot of people, they look at the preseason changes and they think that dragons are really cool and everything. The Soul is the biggest objective in the game now. It's not Baron.
Yeah. And Elder Drake is, of course, in theory, the thing that you really want, but you have to get a Soul before that comes through. Yeah. So I know exactly what you mean. An Elder is coming up now in a minute and a half, which is why I bring it up. It's going to be 2 big objectives for Afreeca to either fight over or just take, because SANDBOX doesn't really have any way of comfortably moving towards any of these very dark jungles on their side. You can see GorillA has at least got some defensive vision, but it just doesn't go far enough to help them secure this, and you can see Afreeca happy to start the Baron now.
Well, starting it up. Olaf is not around. Olaf is dead.
Well, it looks like SANDBOX, they still wanted to fight for it. 3-man Shockwave, though, into the backline, but it just doesn't matter. Look at that, the buttons, they landed perfectly. It's what SANDBOX wanted. Fate played that out quite nicely. But you can see Spirit, he's the only one that has lost any part of his health bar because he can't auto this Baron, and you can see, give it a little bit of time, and he's already back to half. Secures that one for his team. And Afreeca should be able to just transition this in 30 seconds over to the Elder Drake.
Well, this game is pretty much over. You can see they're trying to figure out some way to approach this, but realistically, there is no way because they have two red-themed champions that are very short range, have to go in on the opponents, but they can't. They're so far behind. Their champions aren't as good. It's also 5 versus 4. You're staring down an Ocean Dragon.
Yeah.
Things are not looking too good. This Baron is going to be able to also pick up Elder, which they might just do before they go for the end Doom push.
You may as well. When in Rome, you know? Should be pretty easy for this squad just to annihilate this Elder Drake very, very quickly. Then we can get back into teamfight territory. Looks like Afreeca were just thinking about lying in wait and trying to make sure that they can win yet another fight and secure this, not give SANDBOX the ability to smite it away, which I actually do respect because of how strong the Elder Drake is. A stray smite picking that one up from OnFleek could certainly put a spanner in the works. It's Kiin considering running away here, but there's the Abyssal Voyage to try and help out. Ultimate comes through, and it's not quite enough, and now Afreeca are looking for this fight. Spirit going to get taken down immediately, though, as the Equalizer just getting wandered on by SANDBOX. Not exactly what you want to do, but now Mystic has found it. In goes the horse once more, as well as now Summit is off on his own. GorillA is incredibly low. The first one to go down is the Aatrox. Now Mystic looking for more, but relatively low. But look at this, Kiin just coming down for another flank. Remember when this Sivir was low on health? Not anymore. The Quadra kill comes through now, and Fate, he could just be the Penta for Mystic. They're chasing him down. We wanted to see this yesterday, but I don't think we were able to. It was denied at the very end. I think Pioshik was the one that did it, and now Fate trying to get onto his fountain and does so, but he was chased all the way to his fountain. And Afreeca, they should be doing it. This is Baron buff and soon to be an Elder Drake that they should be able to take down for themselves and then win the game.
This is going to be Elder Dragon now going over to Afreeca for sure. There's no way Olaf should be able to steal this away. He doesn't have flash. Can't quite see because of the camera. There's no blast pan. So
yeah,
outside of an Undertow, somehow stealing this, there should be no way. Yeah, there's... Okay.
Yeah, they gave it a red-hot crack, but unfortunately just not quite enough, as Fate could have tried to throw his orb over there and stole it with a shockwave or something like that, but I don't think you're going to outsmite Spirit on that one. As we have a look at this fight once again, Kiin just popping the Chains of Corruption, and this Equalizer actually did
again
a bit of work.
Spirit just wasn't there at the very... Okay, well, that's... Hecarim doesn't really take damage.
I thought that was another replay.
Yeah.
Of him chasing the Orianna down, but wasn't the case.
Elder for 2 minutes, still remaining. Now, Afreeca, they are very, very cautious with everything that they're doing.
The thing that I like about it, though, is that it's not... You know how a lot of teams, we criticize them for being overly cautious? This is Afreeca just saying, we're not going to take risks we don't need.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure we take everything that's going to, make it so that it's easier to win when we decide we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, minute and a half left on this Elder Drake. They are going to use that to break open this base, but they did the required work of tidying up the minion waves first. Kiin now looking for a flank underneath this turret, and I think Afreeca, honestly, you know how you were talking about, can we dive 3 people under this turret? I think the answer is a very clear yes.
At this point,
this squad right now.
With Elder, with Ocean Soul, with several base levels spread across different lanes. I mean, you look at AD carry, 3 levels Mystic has on Leo, 3 levels in top lane, Kiin on Summit, 1 level inside of the jungle, 1 in support. This is multiple turret shots worth of HP. These champions can just ignore
and multiple turret shots
This
worth
game's
of
over.
damage as well, as this game is absolutely over. However, that shockwave was fantastic from the grave, and then they get aced. Afreeca Freecs just way too far ahead. You have to shout out Fate and some of his shockwaves. They were brilliant, but they just weren't enough against the Elder Drake, against the Dragon Soul, and your KeSPA Cup finalists do rampage their way through the SANDBOX base. Nexus turrets die, the Nexus will follow, and the Afreeca Freecs will be your KeSPA Cup 2019 champions.
And I mean, what a impressive performance. A dominating 3-0. Obviously, the last game, SANDBOX made a bit of a better last stand.
Yep.
But it still wasn't enough to overcome anything. I'm really glad that Afreeca ended up winning in the way that they won. They were very cautious. They were very reserved with their play. And it was just very nice to see. They seem to understand team fighting and the team fighting of their comps versus the opponents a lot better than SANDBOX's did. And I'm always a very big fan when these extremely aggressive comps get clapped.
Yeah, the thing that I absolutely love about watching Afreeca Freecs play is that oftentimes we get out of a series like this. It can be a 3-0, it can be, a 2-1. It doesn't matter. But the games were sloppy, right? We've had a few of those here in the KeSPA Cup, but these Afreeca wins have just been Afreeca being way better than the enemy team and not winning on a coin flip or not playing slightly less bad than their opponents. This is an Afreeca Freecs that looks clean. They look well oiled. And it also looks like the pickup of Mystic was just genius. Of course, he had to come back to Korea. His wife and child were over here and wanted to make sure that he was closer to them. There's a beautiful interview that Ashley Kang did that you can check out. It's over on Reddit or on her Twitter if you'd like to see that one as well. But I'm so glad that Mystic had to come back to Korea because he is a joy on this team, and they needed that consistent damage, that consistent force on the bottom side of the map, and I couldn't think of a better player than Mystic to be that.
Yeah,
so congratulations to Afreeca.
And there's all the confetti that is coming down. There's the KeSPA Cup trophy. Now, I'm imagining that Kiin will win MVP for the series, right? And get the trophy.
Yeah, I think
that's what
Kiin wins MVP for the tournament, in my opinion.
Probably. Kiin wins MVP for the team, the tournament, the series, each individual match.
2020.
Yeah, LCK 2020, Worlds, MSI.
Yep, it's Grand Slam time now.
Even if he's not there, he's still going to get the MVP. And that's pretty much how that goes. So, champions will be Afreeca. SANDBOX, they're going to have a month off now until LCK ends up resuming in February.
Yep. And we'll have to see what changes are going to be made and what leveling up a lot of our teams are going to do. As Sunke going to be interviewing these players after their very successful run through the semifinals and final, obliterating Dragon X and following that one up with the surprise win in the final against SANDBOX. SANDBOX, a team that we don't necessarily expect to be at the top. And unfortunately, we won't have any translation here. Hopefully it will be translated later, but you guys can enjoy as Sunke talks to the Afreeca Freecs after their brilliant KeSPA Cup performance.
젤리의 브라움은 이 정도구나라는 얘기를 진짜 정말 많이 하고 있거든요. 사실 이번 스플릿이 더더욱더 그래서 기대가 될 것 같아요. 지금까지 못 보였던 거 한 번에 보일 수 있는 기회가 생길 것 같거든요. 어떻습니까 이번 새롭게 돌아온 2020 시즌?
제가 이제 작년 시즌부터 딱히 크게 보여준 게 없고 뭐 좋은 모습을 못 보여드려서 되게 팬분들도 걱정이 많고 저도 되게 걱정이 많았는데 스스로 근데 제 자신이 있었거든요. 개인적으로는. 그래서 2020 시즌에 진짜 제가 모든 걸 걸고 보여드리고 싶다라고 생각했는데 시작을 이렇게 우승으로 시작해서 다행이네요.
정말 다행이네요. 젤리 선수의 박수 부탁드릴까요? 네. 기분 좋은 젤리 선수의 2020 시즌 저희도 함께 같이 기다려보겠습니다. 옆에는 정말 매력적인 선수가 기다리고 있군요. 미스틱 선수와 좀 이야기를 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 잠깐 앞쪽으로 좀 부탁드리겠습니다. 사실 미스틱 선수의 복귀만큼이나 많은 팬들도 기대를 정말 많이 하셨고 기대만큼이나 아주 기가 막힌 플레이가 많이 나왔거든요. 어떻습니까? 좀 만족스러운 이번 KeSPA컵이 됐습니까?
일단 한국 복귀하고 처음으로 한 대회인데 그래도 우승을 하게 돼서 나름 괜찮네요. 예.
사실 미스틱 선수가 나름이라는 표현을 써도 전혀 이상하지 않은 것이 미스틱 선수는 분명히 더 큰 목표를 가질 만한 그런 제목이라는 평가도 분명히 있고 미스틱 선수가 가지고 있는 재능 자체에 대해서는 이미 중국 팬들뿐만 아니라 한국 팬들도 이미 인지를 하고 있습니다. 당연스럽게 더 다음 목표, 더 큰 목표에 대한 꿈이 있을 것 같은데요.
당연히 목표는 롤드컵 우승이고요. 난 LCK랑 롤드컵 목표로 잘해보겠습니다.
사실 미스 선수 오늘 보였던 이 폼 때문에 더더욱더 그 목표가 가까워지지 않았나라는 생각이 드는데 오늘 팬들뿐만 아니라 가족분들도 어떻게 보면은 미스 선수의 이 행보에 대해서 많이 응원을 해주시고 미스 선수가 하고 싶은 그 길에 대해서 크게 응원해 주셨다는 이야기 좀 들었거든요. 어떻습니까? 함께 해주신 그 가족분이나 팬 여러분께 해주실 말씀이 있다면요.
일단 원래 제가 은퇴까지도 생각했었는데 그래도 와이프가 게임 더 하게 허락을 해줘가지고 더 하게 됐네요.
사랑스러운 얘기네요. 한마디 해주신다면 혹시 가족분에게?
여보 고마워.
네, 고맙습니다. 따뜻한 얘기 미스틱 선수의 입으로 한번 들어봤고요. 옆쪽에 선 선수 있으니까 쭉 한번 들어볼까요? 어떻습니까? 마지막에 사실 편하지 않은 상황에서 나왔어요. 도리어 2대 0의 수가 등장을 했는데 일단 본인이 딱 기용되고 딱 앉는 순간 어떤 느낌이었어요?
일단은 저희 팀원들 제가 봐보면서 굉장히 이미 잘한다는 걸 이미 알고 있었기 때문에 제가 뭐 못하지만 않으면 어느 정도 이기겠다 생각을 해서 너무
잘했잖아요.
기분 좋게 승리한 것 같아요.
그리고 오늘 그때 잘했잖아요.
네, 저도 잘했고.
캐스파컵 이제 승리를 하면서 아프리카 프릭스에서 보여주고 싶은 게 더 많을 것 같습니다. 어떻습니까? 2020 시즌에 선 좀 기대도 좋을 것 같아요?
네, 제가 아무래도 지금 용준이 형 밑에서 많이 배우고 있어가지고 스프링 시즌에는 좀 더 발전된 모습 기대도 될 것 같아요.
용준이 형이 뭘 가장 많이 가르쳐줘요?
일단은 세세한 건데 막 라인전 하는 것부터 갱 받아치는 거, 미아 이런 거 다 알려주거든요.
네.
그래가지고 너무 많이 도움이 되고 있어요 지금.
저도 개인적으로 용준이 형한테 많이 배우고 있어가지고 일단 인상 깊네요. 그럼 우리 용준이 형 만나볼까요? 우리 플라이 선수. 네.
안녕하세요.
네, 일로 와 용준이 형.
네.
반말로 부를 수 없는 이름 중에 하나예요. 이제 플라이 선수가 사실은 워낙 잘한다는 건 우리가 다 알고 있습니다. 플라이 못한다는 얘기는 안 해요. 그런데 일반적이지 않은 방향으로 잘한다고 우리가 인지를 하고 있었거든요. 근데 이번 캐스파컵에는 그동안 플라이가 보였던 느낌과는 또 다른 느낌들이 좀 많이 나왔단 말이죠. 어떤 좀 변화가 있었던 거예요?
저 자신으로는 그냥 변화가 없었던 것 같고 그냥 팀적으로 되게 잘 어울려서 이렇게 된 것 같아요.
그러니까 팀적인 그 조합만으로도 플레이가 지금까지 보여줬던 거와는 또 다른 매력들이 나왔던 것 같은데 지금 선 선수가 형한테 많이 배웠어요 이런 얘기를 했는데 어떤 걸 가르쳐줬어요 본인 생각에는요?
제가 딱히 알려준 건 그냥 뒤에서 보고 자기가 배우지 않았을까 싶습니다.
저도 용준이 형한테 그렇게 배우고 있어요. 네, 어쨌든 플레이 선수가 역시 선배의 아주 표본을 좀 잘 보여주고 있다는 생각이 드는데 지난번에는 아시키 캐스파컵 준우승이었습니다. 이제 우승을 딱 차지하면서 이 트로피 그 주인공이 됐거든요. 어떻습니까? 2020 시즌.
시작이 이렇게 돼서 정말 좋은 것 같아요, 기분이.
그럼 뭐 하고 싶습니까? 2020 시즌.
2020 시즌에 성적 잘 내야죠.
성적 어느 정도로 잘 내야죠?
근데 좀 자만하지 않고 그냥 그런 걸 연연하지 않고 일단 팀원들이랑 팀워크 맞추면은 자연스럽게 올라가지 않을까 생각하고 있고요. 자만하지 않겠습니다.
자만하지 않고 미소를 지면서 차근차근 해나가겠다는 플라이 선수의 이야기를 들어봤습니다. 좋은 장면 앞으로도 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다. 옆에 이어서 그레이 선수도 함께 하고 있는데 나온 김에 쭉쭉 얘기하는 거죠. 네. 사실 앞으로 보여줄 가능성이 더 많다는 이야기 때문에 팬들이 좀 기대를 많이 하고 있습니다. 캐스파컵에서도 이제 더 보여주고 싶은 장면이 분명히 있었을 것 같은데 사실 그 부분보다도 새로운 시즌에 대한 각오도 남다를 것 같거든요. 어떻습니까?
일단 제가 다윤이 형 밑에서 그래도 제가 부족한 부분 많이 배우면서 지금 성장해가고 있는 것 같아서 좋은 것 같아요.
사실 그 입장에서 여기는 막 그런 도제제도가 확실하네요. 어떻습니까? 새해에 각오가 더 중요할 것 같아요. 이번 그 봄 시즌에 딱 들어와서 앞으로 이거를 내가 보여주고 싶다. 내가 등장했을 땐 이거 하나만 봐달라는 부분이 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
작년과 좀 다른 뇌절을 안 하는 그런 모습.
전문 용어가 나왔군요. 네. 멈칫거리지 않는 그 움직임을 속에서 충분히 좋은 장면을 보여주겠다. 내 흔들리지 않는 모습을 보여주겠다는 이 다부진 각오까지 한번 들어봤습니다. 2020 시즌 봄 시즌 역시 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 이어서 아주 이 선수 많은 분들이 기다리실 것 같아요. 국대탑 키인입니다. 이 딱지가 안 떨어지네요. 왜 국대 거리는지 너무 알 것 같은 그런 장면이 나왔어요. 어때요? 이 우승 소감 한 말씀 해주신다면.
이제 우승을 처음 해봤는데
원래 우승하면 기대하던 그림이 약간 있었거든요. 근데 이게 우승을 해보니까 이게 우승인가 싶기도 하고 약간 제가 생각하던 그림이랑 좀 다르더라고요.
무슨 그림을 생각을 했어요?
이제 막 우승을 하면 이제 막 신나고 이제 그럴 줄 알았는데 생각보다 막 실감도 안 나고 이게 이긴 건가 싶기도 하고 약간 그런 생각이 들더라고요.
어떻게 보면 기인 선수가 이뤄냈었던 건 개인의 업적에 관련된 것들이 많았습니다. 많은 팬들이 기인하면 떠오르는 그 멋진 장면도 항상 팬들에게 보여주곤 했었는데 말씀하신 것처럼 유독 이런 우승에 관련된 장면하고는 약간 거리가 있었단 말이죠. 이제 한 번 경험하고 말 건 아니잖아요.
당연하죠.
어떻습니까?
이제 KeSPA컵 우승을 시작으로 이제 이번 KeSPA컵에 안주하지 않고 좀 더 이제 스프링 서머 더 열심히 해서 롤드컵까지 노려봐야죠.
롤드컵 노리는 이 기인의 모습 어느 정도까지 뻗어나갈 수 있을지 여러분 기인 선수였습니다.
감사합니다.
네. 자 그리고 진짜 험난한 여정 끝에 온 스피릿 선수도 좀 이야기를 잠깐 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 제가 이쪽으로 갈게요.
네네.
사실 스피릿 선수도 굉장히 마음고생이 심했던 상황이었던 걸로 저도 알고 있어요. 워낙 개인적으로도 고민도 많았을 것 같고 여기 경기를 치러내는 데 있어서 여러 가지 어려움도 많이 있었을 것 같은데 어떻습니까 지금?
일단은 오늘 우승하긴 했는데 뭐 아직 제가 필요로 하는 뭐 원하는 그런 그림은 아니거든요. 아직까지는 아직 한참 남은 것 같고 작년에 제가 경기를 썸머 시즌 뭐 한 경기도 못 나갔잖아요. 그 한을 올해 풀어보도록 하겠습니다.
오늘 이 박수만으로도 충분히 스피릿이 어떤 장면을 보여줬는지 충분히 인지를 할 것 같습니다. 이제 사실 이제 끝으로 많은 선수들도 그런 얘기를 했었잖아요. 내가 이제 우리 팀에서 좀 더 많은 것들을 보여주고 싶다. 좀 더 잘하는 봄 시즌 2020 시즌을 보여주고 싶다는 이런 얘기를 했었는데 스피릿 선수 참 자신감 있는 그런 얘기도 한마디 좀 필요할 것 같거든요. 어떻습니까? 2020 시즌 아프리카 프릭스 어디로 갈 겁니까?
이거 설레발 치면 항상 망하더라고요. 그래서 설레발은 안 치겠고 그래도 저의 최선을 다하겠습니다. 믿어주세요.
그 믿음 함께 기대해보도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 다시 한번 축하드리겠습니다. 이번 챔피언 아프리카 프릭스입니다. 네, 계속해서 시상식 진행해보도록 하겠습니다. 잠시 선수는 옆에 자리해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 자, 그럼 계속해서 선수들 잠시 저 옆쪽으로 자리해 주시기를 부탁드리겠고요. 계속해서 2019 리그 레전드 KeSPA컵 울산 우승에 대한 시상식을 이어서 전해드리도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 시상을 도움을 주실 분을 먼저 모실 텐데요. 시상을 위해서 한국 e스포츠 협회 김영만 회장님을 박수와 함께 무대로 모시겠습니다. 사실 이 한 단어를 얻기 위해서 정말 많은 선수들이 최고의 노력을 오랫동안 했습니다. 바로 그 노력 끝에 다시 한번 제가 부를 수 있게 됐군요. 여러분 큰 박수로 다시 한번 축하해 주시죠. 2019 리그 오브 레전드 KeSPA컵 울산 우승은 아프리카 프릭스입니다. 자, 섭외 많은 전문가들의 예상에 아프리카 프릭스의 이름은 그렇게 많이 거론되지는 않았습니다. 하지만 한 경기 한 경기 치러내면서 최고의 장면들을 보여줬고 그 최고의 장면이 연결되면서 결국 이 우승의 주역이 됐습니다. 아프리카 프릭스의 이 이름 2020 시즌에도 2020 시즌에도 최고의 모습으로 바뀌길 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다. 우승을 차지한 아프리카 프릭스에게는 4천만 원의 상금 그리고 부상으로 하이퍼엑스 공인용품 세트가 수여되겠습니다. 그리고 역시 빛나는 우승 트로피가 수여되겠습니다. 자, 꽃다발이 주어졌고요. 자, 계속해서 기념 촬영도 함께 살짝 진행해 볼까요? 네, 고맙습니다. 그 어느 때보다 가장 빛나는 이 미소입니다. 2020 시즌을 정말 기대하게 만드는 그런 플레이와 함께 이번 KeSPA컵 결승전 무대의 최후의 승자로 자리매김한 아프리카 프릭스의 선수들입니다. 네, 여러분 다시 한번 박수로 축하해 주시죠. 네, 고맙습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 자, 시상을 해주신 한국 e스포츠협회 김영만 회장님께도 다시 한번 감사의 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 자, 이제 이어서 선수들 그 자리에 계셔도 될 것 같습니다. 뭐 중앙 무대는 이제 아프리카 프릭스의 무대인데 쑥스러움이 많으시는군요. 뭐 굳이 그쪽으로 안 가셔도 되거든요. 가운데 무대로 이제 뭐 다시 오셔도 될 것 같아요. 네, 보스라니. 그러면 먼저 이 시상하고 가운데로 모실까요? 이제 이번 대회에서 가장 빛나는 활약을 보여준 MVP 선수에 대한 시상을 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. MVP는 KBS 디지털 미디어국 김영준 국장님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 박수로 무대로 모시겠습니다. 네, 고맙습니다. 자, 오늘 뭐 최고의 장면들을 많이 보여준 선수들이 있습니다. 이 중에서 하지만 안타깝게도 MVP는 한 명인데요. 그 MVP 과연 누가 될지 지금 저도 확인했습니다. 2019 리그 오브 레전드 캐스파컵 울산 MVP 여러분, 국대탑 키인입니다. 최고의 장면을 연이어서 보여주면서 자신의 존재의 값어치를 보여줬던 키인 선수입니다. 언제나 박수 받을 만한 그런 플레이를 펼쳤었고 이제는 우승컵의 주인공이 되는데 전혀 부족함이 없는 최고의 장면을 보여주면서 MVP의 주인공이 됐습니다. 자, 키인 선수에게는 200만 원의 상금과 부상으로 킥스타 커스텀 PC와 로보마스터 S1이 수여가 되겠습니다. 다시 한번 축하의 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 시상을 해주신 KBS 디지털 미디어국 김영준 국장님께도 다시 한번 감사의 말씀 전하겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 계속해서 구석으로 부르고 있는데 이 중앙 무대의 주인공들에게 다시 한번 무대 중앙을 넘겨드려야 할 순간입니다. 자, 캐스파컵 울산 이제 마무리를 드릴 시간입니다. 숨 가쁘게 달려왔었던 이번 경기가 되겠었는데 2020 시즌 바로 전에만 했었던 이 컵대회인 만큼 많은 분들의 기대치가 높았던 것 같은데 그 최고의 기대치를 바로 아프리카 프릭스가 손에 넣으면서 이대로 경기가 마감이 됐습니다. 이 새로운 시작 끝까지 여러분들의 많은 관심 부탁드리면서 저는 이 무대를 아프리카 프릭스에게 넘겨드리면서 여기서 인사드리도록 하겠습니다. 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.
Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry that we didn't have the translation for you at the end, but I am so glad that we were able to bring you the KeSPA Cup for 2019. It happened. We did it. We got through it. LS, he's taken the jacket off. We've survived. And it's all thanks to you guys. So thank you so much for supporting us in our attempt to get the KeSPA Cup in English over to you guys. Big shout out to KeSPA as well for coming through and to also be able to do it at such short notice, get us into a studio, you know, all that sort of stuff. So thanks for that, and we made it through. Congratulations to the Afreeca Freecs, and huge congratulations to the very understandable MVP in Kiin, who picked himself up a PC and $2,000. Super well deserved, and I just hope that we can see this Afreeca throughout 2020 challenge our other top teams, because I think a lot of people were disappointed with how this tournament went for the likes
of the top
T1,
teams, yeah.
GEN.G, Dragon X.
Yeah. So definitely was a tournament with a lot of surprises, especially the ones in the finals. But now there's a month between now and LCK. So we'll see what changes between now and then, and if Afreeca can come strong into LCK spring 2020 with the same kind of force that they showed here in the KeSPA Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of things can be turned around between KeSPA Cup and the start of the season. It's not often. I mean, we saw all of the winners of past KeSPA Cups, and I believe, Longju did pretty well a couple of years ago, and then did also very, very well during the season, but I think that's an outlier. ESC Ever was a team that was able to take down a KeSPA Cup title, but then were basically broken up immediately afterwards, things like that. So I think if you win the KeSPA Cup, it's a fantastic look into how the potential of the team is for the rest of the year, but it's certainly not nails in the coffin or anything like that for the 2020 season. Because, like, goodness me, it's been a few days of 2020 thus far. So I'm really glad that we got the, I guess, look in. We got an idea of what these teams might look like, but it's certainly not the be-all and end-all.
Right, and so, I mean, just look forward to it in LCK 2020. Remember, it resumes in February this year. So that's after Lunar New Year, for those that are wondering why it might be starting later than LCS and LEC.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next peak of the meta, though, is also going to come at the end of the month with those two regions, NA and EU, kicking off what is going to be the 2020 year.
And I actually think that's really exciting because most of the time, we're
It's
the
Korea,
first ones. Exactly. So now we can watch the LEC, we can watch the LCS, we can devise what our ideas are on the meta and then see what Korea is going to take. I presume that we're going to have the LCS, the LEC picking really cool things, you know, and then like really engagey supports. And then we're going to get Varus Tom Kench every game. That's what I think.
You know what? I have a lot of confidence in Fnatic and G2.
Mm-hmm. They're going to inspire the LCK?
Hopefully.
Is that what you reckon? Well,
hopefully.
I certainly hope so. And I hope you guys enjoyed the KeSPA Cup coverage. I hope you enjoyed the ups and downs that we shared. You know, bringing back Achilleo is certainly an up. Max sitting in front of you guys playing I Spy, certainly a downside. We got through
that
it.
day, huh?
Yeah. That was when you got a little bit sick after reading the script. It was not a good time. However, we made it through.
Yep.
We completed the broadcast at what was a pretty
3 a.m.
record-breaking 3 a.m. That was certainly a good time.
Yeah, you broke my old record.
Yeah?
I finished one at 2 a.m. once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then Papa finished one at what, 1:30?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like
that. Was,
that.
that was
we
an
were
epically late
going
night.
the miles.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was something.
I won something, so I'm super excited about that. So thank you so much. But that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching KeSPA Cup 2019, and we will see you for LCK in February. See you later.
여러분 다시 한번 축하의 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 2019 KeSPA 컵 챔피언 아프리카 프릭스입니다.